All right, I don't know what the hell just happened there. It looked like they just played the damn intro to the show two times in a row, but oh, I know what happened. I got double audio. All right, we're good now. So hopefully you guys can hear me in the comments. We got a few familiar faces in the comments. It's good to see Jason King here supporting your boy CJ Mondo, who I want to take the time to apologize to as I got his last name wrong. I mean, there's always going to be technical difficulties, you know, but I do apologize for that. It is definitely CJ Mondo, not Mondo with an O. And he is backstage with us here. He will be with us live. You guys will be able to ask him whatever you want. We're going to shoot the shit and talk about whatever we want. You guys know that this is a non PG show. I don't do that bullshit, which is perfect for someone like CJ Mondo, who also is not PG. There's nothing PG about the man that's going to be coming on this show today. Uh, History is being made because for the first time ever, Kevin Impact and CJ Mondo are meeting. This is a guy who I have heard his name thrown around for several years. He's nobody new to me. I believe he's heard about me as well, and he's been around for quite some time. I've known of this man through Ray Nakai, Ray Everett, Burke Lawson, whatever you want to call him, whatever he wants to call himself. Some might like to call him Shadow X-Ray, but MPW, QPW, Quantum Pro Wrestling. Shout out to them. Shout out to MPW, Moonlight Pro Wrestling, and of course DBW, Violent, Dangerous Violent Pro Wrestling. Who we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. But get the opportunity to talk to we have a 3-hour time slot for this show. I don't know if we're going to be able to have CJ Mondo for the 3 hours, but we're going to see if we can have him for the 3 hours, just so you guys can ask him whatever you want. So definitely smash that like button and help us share this show. Post it everywhere that you can. I'm going to be posting this show momentarily everywhere that I can as I'm talking to CJ Mondo. And I get an opportunity to just explore and to get to know the guy on a more personal level, in and out of character, and he'll get the opportunity to ask me shit as well. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. Like I said, smash the like buttons. The best comments will be highlighted, best questions. And as we continue, like I said, we got 3 hour shows, so we got a few of you guys tuning in right now as we still await a capacity crowded. It's a Tuesday and it is pretty early, so during the week, I don't normally do City of Impact on a Tuesday during the week like that. So this is a bit different, a different experience, But nonetheless, I want to take the opportunity to go ahead and bring out CJ Mondo right now, the Violentic CJ Mondo. So let's go ahead and bring him to the stage right now. CJ Mondo, welcome to the show. Welcome to the city.
First of all, I got to say this. It's an honor and a privilege to be here standing in this podcast. I'm a huge fan. I've listened to the podcast, been up to date about it.
Wow.
And only thing I got to say, let's get this show on the road because the one and only VIOLENTIC is here and I'm here to cause controversy. So let's get to it.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited. We definitely talked about this for a little bit. We weren't sure when this was going to happen. We definitely talked about a project you was working on with a guy from JTV that's still being worked on. You know what I mean? So I got interested. I got excited, because I wanted to see this side of you on a podcast. You know what I mean? So I got curious and I said, what the hell? Let me try to go for it. And the idea popped into my head. I feel like you have stories to tell, things you definitely have been wanting to get off your chest about frustrations and call. And I like allowing, people to have that platform, to have that opportunity to be able to express themselves. We're not here to censor you. You ain't gonna be censored on this show. You could say whatever the hell you want. If you got something that you have to say to me negative, that people might think negative, you can say that as well. You can say anything you want to me or anybody. That's what's fun about this show. And I appreciate the support, man. I appreciate the fact that you have been tuning into this show, and City of Impact has kind of become sort of our playground for airing dirty laundry of call, and individuals being able to speak their mind, and to be able to have a freedom that you're not going to get in other places in call. So it's an honor and a pleasure to meet you, and it's even more of an honor and a pleasure to have you here on the City of Impact. All right.
Well, on the City of Impact, that there's a thing that I like about it is not only you get to express yourself, but me and you can agree to disagree on call. There's too many companies that take away creative processing from a guy, guys like me that love ECW, that love the violence, that loves the heart and soul, and especially, one of my favorites growing up as, watching his on television was Shane Douglas, one of my all-time favorites, the franchise. And it's one of those moments that, me doing call and also getting trained in the real business, sharing the locker room with Shane, many people don't realize how emotional you get when you're a wrestling fan, and now you're training in the business, and then going backstage, sharing a locker room with the man who basically paved the way for you and is pretty much there to help you, just like we are in call.
Right. And Shane Douglas is a very underrated guy. He's one of my favorites as well. A great shooter on the mic, no doubt about it. Great wrestler. He had a great look. I mean, in my opinion, he had it all. The worst thing that Shane Douglas had was haters. Haters, maybe in fans, and haters in these wrestling promoters who didn't realize, besides Paul Heyman, who really gave this man an opportunity to really stand out, in my opinion, because I've known Shane Douglas in ECW. I've seen snippets of him in the WWE, and of course WCW as well. I was familiar with Shane Douglas in WCW and in ECW. I feel like ECW, he got an opportunity to be, I think it was TV champion, and he got to run around. I think it was Francine. He was with Francine, and trying to go off my head. I remember him doing stuff with Taz. He worked with a lot of different people, and I liked how edgy he was. It just, he was the kind of guy, get on the mic and he's not gonna say some corny PG bullshit, like he'll really go in. And he got a lot of heat for what he said about Ric Flair back in the day when Ric Flair was champion once upon a time, and he said, F that, and spoke his mind. So why is he not in TKO's Hall of Fame? I have no idea. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, he should. I mean, he's one of the icons. I mean, I agree with you. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
Over the Bella Twins and all this other disaster that we have in the Hall of Fame, and all this stuff that we gift, because that's just how wrestling is now. When we were growing up and when we was trying to do this stuff and everything and hone our craft to become a Kevin Impact or a CJ Mondo, you couldn't been PG, and you couldn't been a soft little bitch. You really had to be tough to make it in this business. And both of us have had a taste of the virtual CAW world, and we've had a taste of the real wrestling world as well. You more than me. You've actually been in that ring and done your thing and worked with Shane Douglas. I just got a taste of it. I got to train different people.
Actually, I didn't get to work with Shane Douglas. I only got to share a locker room.
Well,
so
you got to talk to him. You got to meet him. You got to talk to him. You got to shake hands with the man, and that stands for something. You know what I mean? That goes a long way. And your experience, trying to be a wrestler, and I've seen pictures of you and Victoria and whatnot. I know you met a couple people, done a couple things, and you have this platform.
Victoria was one. Freya the Slayer, which she's an not ONW, OVW. It's Ohio Valley. It's like a wrestling school for like where John Cena, Batista, Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar went, basically.
Right. So you've had experience in the business, man. You know, you've had a taste of it, and you don't know that wrestling is real until you try it. Anyone that
That's
told
exactly.
you pro wrestling is fake, try it. You ain't got to get in the ring. All you got to do is just basic workout. You know, my trainer, shit, I can't even remember now, but he went by the name Bronco. He was Spanish guy, luchador, competing out of Dominican Republic. He had a guy come in, I can't remember his name. We're still friends on Facebook, who got to work with the Bro Warriors, and I saw probably some luchadors that never really made it in WCW, but they worked in front of me, and I've had a taste of that. And I found out after getting slammed and working the ropes and getting whipped into the buckles and getting your nuts pinched on the mat and flipping a million times and almost vomiting and having to rush into the bathroom, and then you get your ass back in the ring, you find out that professional wrestling, there's nothing fake about it. The only thing that's fake about it is that it's planned. You have planned winners and whatnot because it's an entertainment thing as well as physical sport. But there's nothing fake about what goes on in the ring. Everything hurts. At any point in time, your career can end, your life can end. In the same ring that I've trained in, there were people that died. Somebody that I think hit a 630 and landed on their fucking head, excuse my language, and just died. There's been clips of people falling through the ropes. Hacksaw Jim Duggan was one of them. Cracked his skull. You know what I mean? And it was a debilitating injury. So, what about you? Have you had any injuries in your time in the business? You got
So
hurt?
far, luckily, I'm blessed. But going back to Shane Douglas, I got a title here I want to show everybody
Uh-oh.
that Shane Douglas has won.
CJ Mondo. There he is.
If you guys have not looked, this is the title that Shane Douglas had before he threw it in the trash can. This would be the NWA's heavyweight title.
Yes,
as you can see.
She is a beauty. She is a beauty. That's
so that is the
player promo, no?
That's when he threw it in a trash can. If you guys don't remember, this is a story that I'm going to tell you what my buddy told me in the locker room. So he basically told me, he's like, "Why don't you get that belt signed by Shane Douglas?" And he said, "Just remember, he throws that shit in a trash can." I said, "Hell no, I'm not letting him throw my title in the trash can, not the NWA title."
It's a lot of important people that held the NWA championship. They was even able to get it into the TNA, I believe, in 2002, if I'm not mistaken. Ricky Steamboat and all of them was out there. NWA TNA at the beginning. I could be wrong.
That was the best version of TNA. That's what I have to say about the TNA business.
I mean, we can agree to disagree for whoever disagrees in the comments. And you got a lot of people here supporting you. You got Devin in the comments supporting you. I mean, Devin Kiloa. We got Chris Conscience there. Questions are already starting to pop up that I actually have to highlight so we can go back to them later on. As we get to them, so your experience with Shane Douglas, Minham, was great. He was good to you.
I mean, here's what I done when I first saw Shane, and this is advice I'm going to give to people that's new to the business like I was. If you see a legend, don't be disrespectful. Go up to like I did, and I shook his hand. I'm like, "Man, thank you for paving the way for guys like me." That's exactly what I told Shane. I'm like, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to do this.
Well, let me ask you about this, because it's something I learned about my time getting a taste of the business. I'm not speaking like I'm some big veteran. I'm speaking just from experience. When I was training to wrestle and I was in BWF with my trainer Bronco and everybody that was over there out here in New York, I was told with some of the wrestlers that came in that was training with us or showing us or talking with us, getting to meet the up and coming talent or people that were training, the civilians who were trying to become a wrestler, the civilians that were trying to become a Stan Lee, Marvel superhero. Um, I was told that when you're green, your handshake is light. So when you go up to a polished vet, when you shake hands, you have to shake hands almost like you're a little bitch, like you're a little sissy. You know what I mean? I didn't do that shit, but I learned that. I learned that. So I had went to the vets and I just shook their hand like a man. I wasn't gonna shake no other man's hand like a sissy because in my time in this life growing up, uh, I've never liked shaking hands with another man if the handshake is light. You know what I mean? But it does tell you how timid they are, if that makes sense. So when I would shake hands with some of the TNA guys that came in, which I didn't know who they were, they were newer people. Uh, it's like I was told about the light handshake thing. Did you experience that in your time trying to get into the business training over there?
Well, the company I was training under was Wildfire Championship Wrestling. It's Richie Rich and Tommy Wildfire Rich's company.
The Richie
And
Rich?
yeah, the Richie Rich.
Mm.
So basically, when I was training, Richie, he would pretty much, like they call it in the business, ribbon. He would rib me every single show. Like I couldn't even get him off my back. It was, something, he was just constantly poking at me. And, and I know that he was, just screwing around with me. And just, being around those guys, especially Tommy, Tommy Wildfire Rich, probably one of the best NWA World Heavyweight Champions currently right now, because we've lost pretty much. I think there's only two active NWA World Champions that's legends right now. That's Ric Flair and him.
Okay.
So Tommy, when I first started, this is a story that I will tell on my side. I had trouble with the collar and elbow tie up because, I saw it on a video game and I saw it on TV, but I didn't know how to perform it when it came down to actually doing it. So Tommy pulled me aside. He said, "Kid, I know you don't know nothing about wrestling." He's like, "But I'm going to teach you." So we was at this little shelter that was like kind of like a picnic, like a gazebo top shelter. It wasn't really fancy. It was just like, a square version of a gazebo. And Tommy said, "I don't want you to take no bumps or nothing." He said, "We're just going to learn the collar and elbow tie up." So he said, "Lock up with me." So, we locked up. He showed me where my hands need to be to do the collar and elbow tie up. And he's like, "Okay, now lock up with me again and make sure when you do it, slap it." So basically, he said, "You see the difference? If you literally don't slap it, people are going to think they're a bunch of pussies locking up."
Right.
And coming from Tommy Rich, I mean, I'm going to tell you guys something right now. Coming from him telling me that was I had the most fun. And, it was a perfect advice. I mean, if you guys are going to get in the business, don't like barely lock up. Just, lock up, make sure you smack the back of their neck to make it, basically, I think it's produced sound. I don't really know, so I can't give you the answers to that.
Yeah.
But getting advice from NWA legend such as Tommy was a huge blessing. Like that was probably one of the most that was probably, I'd say, one of the best nights besides sharing the locker room with Shane Douglas. That's like putting icing on top of cake plus the cherry.
Tommy Rich is just one of those guys that I wouldn't say he's underrated because he got over in wrestling, but he's underappreciated by the current era, like a lot of people are. There's a lot of people who deserve a lot more credit in wrestling who don't get talked about enough today. You know what I mean? You don't have conversations with wrestling fans that watch like mainstream wrestling that can tell you about Tommy Rich or somebody like that. And just Shane Douglas and whatnot, and have an intellectual conversation with you and say Dean Malenko, Ultimo Dragon, Great Muda. You can't have anything like that anymore because the conversations like Seth Rollins. Nikki Bella, Charlotte Flair, something like that, or Mox. All the respect to Mox. I know you got a lot of love and respect for Mox, Dean Ambrose, whatever you want to call him, and you took a little bit of him to continue building CJ Mondo, and we'll get to that, But I just think that if you're a wrestling fan, you should have an education and a psychology of understanding the business. But I mean, people that I've talked to, it's like not every fan is the same. There are different fans that are into different things that like different styles. Someone might think that The Rock is the GOAT. Someone might think Austin is the GOAT. Some people think Undertaker's the GOAT. You take someone like The Undertaker. A lot of people would put Undertaker on a Mount Rushmore. I wouldn't, respectfully. That's no disrespect to him. It's just that Undertaker to me is not someone who like really peaked like that to be on a Mount Rushmore. My Mount Rushmore would be in eras, in the correct eras, the only eras that make sense. If you get four people on Mount Rushmore, typically, I'm gonna say Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena, just because they represent the four most important eras in wrestling. Outside of that, I don't know how anyone could say anyone else, but they do. Some people say Shawn Michaels, some people say Ric Flair, some people say The Undertaker. To not put Bruno Sammartino on Mount Rushmore to me is insane. But like I said, different people are into different things. There's a lot of people that did not watch Bruno, and I am one of them. But I studied Bruno, and I know about Bruno. I know about his background. I know about his life. I know about some of the matches he had with Haystack Jones when he slammed him. And Killer Kowalski and whatnot, losing his ear. So I have some knowledge on wrestling, not because to show off, just because it's just been a part of my life. Wrestling is my entire life. It's my love and my passion. But this is not about me. This is about you. You're the guest. What is your Mount Rushmore in wrestling, CJ?
Well,
I know it's hard. I know it's
well,
hard. But
first, I think it'd be Shane Douglas because Shane's put in a whole lot of work, and he deserves, respect, same as Hulk Hogan and the bigger guys that's been the Mount Rushmore.
Right.
Second one has to be Tommy Rich. I have to go with Tommy Wildfire Rich. He deserves some fame and Hall of Fame status for what he's put into the business. I mean, you look at Tommy's matches, funny how I'm going to say this. I have an autograph of Harley Race, the man who Tommy Rich beat for the NWA's World Heavyweight title. A little wrestling history for you wrestling fans, which we call fanatics. He beat Tommy Rich later on, but Tommy beat him, and Tommy, I think, got the whole title for 4 days. I think it's what the current record stands. But, I mean, heck, there's a lot of people that went to NWA and never got the chance to hold the NWA title. I mean, there's a lot of guys.
Right.
A lot of guys that's held the title are some WWE stars. Ric Flair. Tommy Rich, when it was WCW, he was on the Monday Night Wars before they, I think, either released him or he went his way, and then he went to Memphis Wrestling and then NWA. And also, I got to go with another star here on my Mount Rushmore, the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson.
All right. So that's very telling about you, because that leads me on to the idea to be comfortable to believe that you were really more of a fan of NWA and AWA and stuff like that was going on.
And Smoky Mountain.
Smoky Mountain Wrestling, which was Jim Cornette.
Speaking about that, I've watched his podcast, and and I know this is not a PG show, so he was talking about I think it was the WWE pay-per-views or something like that, and he cracked me up. Like, Jim Cornette is probably one of the best guys to ever tell it like it is. So he basically said, how about WWE comes to my local flea market, because it sounds like to me they're running a local goddamn flea market show instead of a wrestling show. And I'm just as soon as he says that, I'm sitting there cracking up, trying to, because I think at the time I was trying to cut a promo, and then watching Jim Cornette's show, and I'm like, I can't cut this promo now, because one, he's got me cracking up. I'm definitely out of character now. And second of all, he just called out WWE for their lame shows that they've been producing. And to be honest, that's why I don't watch much of WWE. I go back to old school, like Smoky Mountain, AWA, Memphis Wrestling. Those was the main reasons why WWE's got their names.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back then, it was called territories. So you had different, kind of like, I'm going to put this in political way to explain it better. So kind of like a nation that has a territory. In wrestling, you had Smoky Mountain, they had their territory. You had AWA that had their territory. You had NWA had their territory. All these guys had different territories of states they go to perform shows. So it wasn't like, WWE where they just come in and do any show wherever they want. These guys had territories. So those wrestling companies respected those territories. Smoky Mountain didn't go to AWA's territory. Neither did AWA go to Smoky Mountain's territory. They respected each other. And that's where I feel like a lot of call promotions nowadays, they don't have respect for one another's show. It's about, oh, my show's better than this show. My show's better than this show. And when it comes down to it, they acting like a bunch of kids and not leading by example. And that's why I'm going to put it. You can look at it different, but that's just how I'm going to put it out there.
I agree with you. I mean, I've seen a lot of dirt in my time in call. You mentioned Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I wanted to give a shout out to my boy New Jack real quick. May his soul rest in paradise continuously. Jim Cornette, no doubt about it. I mean, in many ways, Jimbo gets respect today by a lot of fans, but he should get a lot more respect than that. I mean, I feel like he should be on TV managing someone right now. But I mean, you talk about WWE, you talk about the territories back in the day. Florida having its territory, and it's really how that kid from New York who purchased his dad's company and made it the WWE was able to really get his stuff going, putting all these guys out of business. And all these promoters, like you said, that respected each other's territory, and then Vince McMahon comes along and just wants to take it all. You would hope that Vince McMahon would be the type of human being that if you're going to buy up wrestling worldwide, you're at least going to have the passion for it and whatnot. And up in the 90s, up to 2000s, it appeared that he had some passion. It appeared that his creativity was something that was positive for wrestling because it made wrestling what it is today on television. I don't know about professional wrestling. I don't know about all that. But in terms of the soap opera that was to become professional wrestling on TV, Vince McMahon had a big hand in that. Alone, absolutely not. He had a lot of help, but he definitely was an orchestrator in that performance, in that musical performance, if you catch my drift. So it's just like CJ Mondo said, a lot of these territories existed, and that's how wrestling used to be. Guys like Scott Hall, was scattered all over the place, and Undertaker, Mean Mark. You had a lot of people that would become the legends that we know that were elsewhere. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, AWA champion, who would be make a name for themselves back in that time, and eventually companies like the WCW, ECW, and the WWF would sign them up. You'd see them go to Japan, you've seen them go to different places. Japan was around back then. Japan been around for a long time. It's not so talked about here in America because it's Japan. They have their own world, so to speak. So a lot of different things went on. I can remember WCW being in Japan and NWO Japan back in the day, back in the Attitude Era, and the video game magazines, PlayStation and all that. I feel like we got a lot of shit to talk about, and I don't want to lose my thoughts. So going back to some of the dirt in CAW, you know, I've come on this show and I've had my own videos I've put out on here in which I've talked about a lot of this stuff over and over and over and over. And I'm not really going to do it unless CJ Mondo takes me there. So I'm not going to go there unless he takes me somewhere. But I'm going to give him the opportunity if he would like to air out some of those grievances.
Well, it all starts with O&W. I'm going to start with them. Like,
okay.
Back then, it was Calm, Cool, and Collective.
Now, hold on. O&W. Who runs O&W?
That would be Devin Browski.
Devin Browski?
Yeah. Devin Browski.
This is not Devin, not to be mistaken with Devin Kiloa.
No, this is not Devin Kiloa. This is Devin Browski. Devin Kiloa knows him. But I'm going to get on this topic here. So, basically, it was all good. Their shows were good. I'm not going to talk bad about them. But at the end of it, when I felt like that I needed to improve and call, and when I felt like that I need to go somewhere that actually can help me to get better, to get a big name, then they started to pull this crap of just basically tearing me down, taking my logos, basically saying and quoting "fuck them" on my logos, disrespecting not only my work but my logo. Then it goes deeper than that. Then they disrespect one of my good friends I met in the call business, KD. They've done the same thing to him. So it's like, King Dominator. So it's like, dude, it's like he goes on these podcasts saying that he moved on from the past, but you want to do this shit. So how is that technically moving on from the past? It seems like that you keep on doing the same old stuff, but you don't want to practice what you preach.
Right. Being a hypocrite.
You know, it goes back to Craig. I didn't have a problem with Craig, but I let him a part of my show. This is something I'm going to tell everybody here. I let him part of my show. Let him on my Rumble. Then when it came close to my Mania, he basically left the chat, didn't give me anything, not even reasons why he left. So in other words, I had to literally find out how I'm going to literally run the show, and I don't even have reasons why he left, which, you know, if you're going to leave, you know, even Kevin Impact here can tell you, if you're going to leave a company, at least, you know, let them know the reason, not, you know, just join and then put it under the dirt like it's nothing. Right. That's the main problem that I had with Craig, because he didn't respect anything that I done. And it's like, dude, like, if you don't respect anybody's work, then why join a show that you just don't want to stay and don't want to help support? Like that'd be like me, for example. That'd be like me going to your show, Kevin Impact, and basically join JTB and win the Rumble, and then when it got close to your Mania, me leaving the chat and didn't give you a reason. You're going to be looking at me like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, it's not cool. It's not cool. Yeah, a lot of people have done that to me in JTV. Just walk off, you know, and sometimes you wonder because sometimes it's just like it's weird because you develop a good friendship, good relationship with someone, and you think that everything is just great and everything is fine, and then just one day out of nowhere, you know, they walk out on you, and you don't know why. You know, a real man, a real adult, a real responsible one, a real respectful one, not just to the promotion, but also to you, in respects to you, promoting them, putting them on the map, helping them grow, whatever. You would sit there and they'd show you the type of respect and go, look, you know, I got to take a break, or I'm going to retire from COD, or you know, say something, or I have this emergency.
You know, I could respect that if they was going to say that, but just leaving that just, you know, that'd be like me, okay, for, you know, being in the real business. That'd be like me, let's say if Smoky Mountain was still here, that'd be like me going to Smoky Mountain Wrestling, winning a chance at their title and then just telling the promoter nothing and don't even show up for, that right there is going to leave a bad taste in the promoter's mouth, because he put enough trust in you to not only book you for the card, but also put you on the posters, to pretty much put your name out, and you don't even show up and don't even give him reasons why.
Right. What do you think is the reason why Craig did that? You think it's just no respect, or you think there's more to it?
I think there's more to it, and like I said, I don't have nothing against Craig. I think it's because of ONW, because they hate me because, one, they can't control me, because here's what they do. And I'm going to tell the truth here on the podcast. They have this rule that you have to block people in order to stay there. So in other words, if you don't abide by their rule, then pretty much
no way
you get removed from their chat. Like I did. I basically didn't want to block somebody that was pretty much like KD and Ryan and JAYSON, which is JMR Alex King. So basically I didn't want to block them. And then they basically said that I backstabbed them, blah, 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 all this, run their mouth on the podcast and saying that that Ryan, which one of my other good friends, need to go suck my dick.
Wow.
And to be honest, that right there is the toxicity that kills companies. I'm just going to point it straight out of the barrel.
I agree,
Kevin. I mean, it's to the point that you want to talk about that you're nothing but love and nothing but, positivity, but you pull this kind of card out of your playbook. Like it don't make sense. I mean, if you're going to talk about being positive and doing the right thing, then good. I'm all for it. But if you're going to sit there and badmouth somebody, tell them go suck some dick, and then pull out their logo and say fuck them, actually, I can see the point now. I'm not the disrespectful one. It was you, and you know who you are. And I'm not going to point your name out because I've been raised better. I know better.
Well, I was raised good too, but I really don't give a shit. It's interesting that Craig was one of the guys pushing that toxic, controlling, type of environment on you, having to block people, because not too long ago he was someone who did business with me. Craig was the guy who I met in 2014. I don't want to go around the world with this. I met him in 2014, and I was going to do business with him. I met him through Ray Geddes. I'm pretty sure that name rings bells. And I was going to do business with the guy, but Craig was just a lazy bastard. It'll take him like a year to put a show out. I cut a promo for him and whatnot. And once I realized that he wasn't going to get me what I need, I got the hell out of there faster than I could sign on the dotted line. Later on, about two years later or so, we made a deal. He came to JTV to be an on-screen general manager while running his company. And we showed him a lot of love, a lot of respect. I actually met the guy. I don't know if you got to meet Craig in person. I met him twice in real life, and we had a nice time. And I gave the guy a lot of respect. Part of the reason I gave the guy a lot of respect is because I looked at him like a real man. Because he's a fireman, and I respect the fireman more than anything because those are the real heroes. I mean, so his reputation, his background, would protect him as a badass. But who is the real Craig? You know what I mean? And then you find out all these stories. It's so interesting that he's one of the guys that was running around saying JTV was toxic and stabbed us in the back to run along with other idiots, who just don't care about cause. They're in it for clout. They're in it for attention. They're in it for views and just to get their smoke blown up your ass. You know what I mean? They're company killers. They're cancer to CW, just like Craig Mack. And it makes me laugh, and it's very interesting that he got to know you, and he was pushing this agenda or throwing around this rumor that I'm toxic and I'm all this other stuff. But what are you doing? You know what I mean? There's been no evidence. There's been no proof of all these claims on me. But yet I keep hearing from a lot of different people about how shit he is, and how, just different things that I don't even have to entirely go into unless he wants me to. But it's just a situation which is interesting, and that's the reason they continue to go on the declining call. Is a stupid shit like that. You get talent, and then how who the hell does he think he is to tell anyone? Which is interesting to me. Again, I got to take a moment to think about this. This man was telling people that they have to block people. Really?
Yeah, pretty much it was ONW that done that. They basically said that you had to block people or you couldn't be a part of their shows, which I think
he was in support of that. And he's grouped up with them. So
and then after that was over, like I said, only thing I was trying to do is, brand out my name. So basically when I got released and fired from ONW for basically doing the right thing and not being a part of the problem, that's when I messaged Devin Kiola, which he's known around all the EFEDS. He's pretty much been champion wherever he's been. So I messaged Devin. I'm like, man, they pretty much let me go. I'm no longer part of ONW. So that's when he got with Ray. Ray took me back. He's like, sure, I'd love to have you back on the show. So ever since then, I'm back on what was formerly known as MPW, now known as QPW. So basically, I'm in a company that literally is like JTV that's wanting to push people the right way and don't do people wrong because of the toxicity drama bullshit that we have in call today.
Well, I want to slowly move from the bullshit. You know what I mean? Because I did want to talk to you about Devin and Ray and all that. You know what I mean? But before I get to that, we got time. Before I get to that, I want to rewind a little bit. So, coming into the wrestling, being a wrestling fan, before breaking into car, how did you get into car in the first place? It's a CAW.
Well, I have a friend that I think he opened his company. It was called BPW. He's actually a backyard wrestler. His name is Xavier Thorne. So basically, Xavier Thorne, he's like, man, you need to like get into call, and I'm like, what's call? He's like, you create your wrestler, you basically be a wrestler, but it's a video game. So I'm like, okay, cool, sign me up. So at the time, I basically went with the name CJ Styles, which is kind of like an AJ Styles because I couldn't think of a name back then because I was new to this. And before I changed it to CJ Mondo, I was like, wait a minute, I'm using something I shouldn't be using. So how can I change that? So when I went to a company that literally was scouting me called Hill's Kitchen Wrestling, ran by Brian Mead. Brian, first match I had was against a Chaos champion, which is like a hardcore champion. It was at Per Bedlam 2019. You can look it on YouTube. And when Brian told me, kid, you're going to be our new Chaos champion, I was like, man, it's a privilege. It's an honor to hold, the Chaos title. I said, I'll do anything in my power to, get the views. So right. I was in HKW. The only title I got to hold was the Chaos Championship, which, perfectly fine because, I'm not one of these guys that, some people likes to be clingy to the world title, clingy to a tag title, clingy to any title they can get their hands on. But, I'm grateful just for a hardcore because, that tributes to some of my heroes, like Shane, like Tommy Dreamer, guys that's, been there and done that. And going back to the question, I would have to say the people that got me in call was originally Xavier. Then it went from Brian Mead, which is the owner of HKW, because he actually showed me a lot of respect. So shout out to Brian Mead. And not only that, to my rival, which I beat when he was HKW champion, Evan Jones. So Evan, even though you beat me, even though I beat you in a tag match, I should have deserved the HKW championship, but I didn't want to take it from you like taking candy from a baby.
Okay, well, while all of that is going on, you've had to have had some inspiration. You mentioned Tommy Rich. You mentioned meeting Shane Douglas, obviously knowing Shane Douglas before you met him to understand who Shane Douglas was. And I think you mentioned the Rock and Roll Express, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson.
So, who were some of your inspirations when you were watching wrestling? I mean, you did mention them. You know what I mean? You did mention them, but along with Shane Douglas, would you say Shane Douglas and Tommy Rich and the Rock and Roll Express are your inspirations for becoming a wrestling fan? Would you say that?
Well, it goes back to the old saying of it would be Tommy Rich, because I remember, watching old NWA tapes and watching him take on Harley Race, which he's on WWE games right now.
Right. So Tommy Rich is the guy. Tommy Rich is the guy who really inspired you to really get into this. And it's not a bad choice, but it's very interesting to me because I don't talk to a lot of people who hit me with that. I don't talk to a lot of people that come on this show that tell me that they were inspired by someone like Tommy Rich. It's very interesting to me, So, with Tommy Rich being the guy that inspired you, influenced Shane Douglas, influenced Rock and Roll Express, NWA Championship, wrestling background, in and out of the virtual world, a bit of a hardship dealing with promoters and call, toxic places that want to be manipulative and controlling. What would be the very first video game that saw your debut in call?
Well, the first video game was WWE 2K17. Now, if we're talking about the first official making of my character, would be SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. One of the probably best WWE games anybody could argue.
Agree.
With GM mode.
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, that history, it carries. I mean, in my opinion, I don't want to entirely speak for Carl. You know what I mean? I speak out for Carl, just like you, but I can't say that I speak for Carl. In my opinion, I say that your background comes with it because that experience carries over. Like I started out in WWF Wars on PS1, and that's when you really got the Creative Wrestler feature. So I think you said it was SVR.
Yep, SVR 07 is when it first started.
All right. Yeah, I mean that all carries over. Were you CJ Mondo back then?
Back then, I used a call named Death Shadow, which he was like more like a Bray Wyatt, Undertaker, and Damian Priest mixed into one.
How did you come up with that?
I was watching. It was funny how you asked that because I was watching one of my favorite movies, which was Resident Evil. I was trying to make my Death Shadow more like Nemesis, more like an evil, I guess you'd call him a tyrant that pretty much goes and destroys anything in its path. So when I was making Death Shadow, I was watching Resident Evil and I saw the Nemesis, and it gave me an ideal when I was playing SmackDown vs. Raw 07, I'm like, I could create something in my creativity, not using somebody else's creativity, but in my own creativity, that I could use it to not only tell a story and call, but to build this specific character up so I can take it to the next generation of gaming. So in other words, SmackDown vs. Raw 07, then 08, then 09, then 11,
Right.
then 010, then 2010, and I think they discontinued it because it became WWE 12, 13, all the way up to 2K25 at the time. But seeing the evolution stages, I guess you would call it, from Death Shadow from 07 of SmackDown vs. Raw to now, I would have to say that there's been some ideals creatively that pretty much inspired me to make him look better. So in other words, he started out as like a nemesis figure in Resident Evil, and then I kind of switched over from Nemesis and then went to Silent Hill, my other favorite, of course. I can't think of his name, but I think he's called Pyramid Head. So there was a lot of, I guess you could say I'm like a horror fanatic as well as a wrestling fan. So I mixed both, I guess both best of both worlds into one to make that call.
Right. Well, I'm not an expert with Silent Hill, but I am familiar with Silent Hill. I remember it being a great game back in the day coming up. And I think that's a great source of information, of inspiration. And you mentioned Resident Evil, which Resident Evil is part of my passion. You know, I'm a big fan of the Resident Evil games. So SVR07, you're coming up, you're doing your thing, and then eventually you get into the car world. How did you find CJ Mondo? How did you come up with CJ Mondo?
Well, that started in 2K19 because I had the CJ Styles from 2K17 to 2K19. So I got tired of using CJ Styles because AJ Styles got in the game. I didn't think AJ would pretty much got in the game. So in other words, I'm like, well, there goes that idea out the storm drain. So basically, I changed from CJ Styles, and I had to literally think of a name. And the only name that would click was Mondo. So I was like, maybe I could use that. So 2K19 hit. That's when I went to HKW because I think they had their ways of doing things. They kind of like JTV. They do it like the real business. They got contracts that somebody has to quit before you can hire new talent in.
Okay.
So basically, I had to wait until the opening got in the doors of HKW. So Brian, he was an intelligent guy. I mean, probably he was definitely like you, if I could say that, Kevin. He basically knew his wrestling stuff. So he's basically like, I'll tell you what, how about we name you CJ Mondo and give you the VIOLENTIC name? I'm like, that sounds pretty good. I can do that. So pretty much all thanks to Brian Mead is where the CJ Mondo name got out. And I've been using that ever since. Brian's the one that literally helped put this name on the map.
And how did you find the VIOLENTIC for fans watching and listening live?
Well,
and watching?
The VIOLENTIC name, I combined Dean Ambrose Lunatic with Tommy Dreamer's Innovator of Violence. So I combined them two into one as my own creativity to not only for the tribute of both great guys, but also, I was a huge fan of them at the time. Dean Ambrose, before he's now named John Moxley, was WWE. He won the WWE title, I think, one time.
Right.
Then you had Tommy Dreamer, which was a huge ECW guy. I mean, he's been in ECW more times he's probably ever been in WWE.
To the very end. Absolutely.
To the very end.
Yes, sir.
He was pretty. I'll say he was there when Shane Douglas was there, because that's how long ago ECW has been around. It's, even though it started as a small company, it grew into like this large empire of extremists, is what they would call them. But ECW, they had their own ways of doing stuff. They had their own ways of literally not only telling a story, but they combined it with, you know, violence, like a light tube, glass tables, barbed wire. I mean, anything you can think of, you know, making your opponent bleed, they had it. Thumbtacks. I mean, them guys literally went to hell itself, is what I call it.
I agree. ECW was the most violent on-screen wrestling promotion that was out there. You had a lot of them, CCW and whatnot, you know, but those companies never made it as big as ECW. ECW was the poster child for extreme wrestling. And that doesn't have to have nothing to do with the Attitude Era time frame. That's general. That's eternal. You know, there's not going to be no future without the acknowledgement or mention of ECW. ECW. You know, so it's always going to be there, and that's the reason I feel it's important to know your stuff, know your history on wrestling. For me, coming up in wrestling as a fan, trying to be a wrestler, trying to be Kevin Impact, I didn't find Kevin Impact all at the beginning of time, but I try to learn from everyone that I saw that I could learn from. And instead of trying to emulate, and I used to emulate, I used to copy a lot of people early in my career before I broke into the online version of calls. I realized that it makes you more authentic when you're just yourself, even if you take pieces of people. You know what I mean? I might have an attitude of New Jack Stone Cold Steve Austin. I might have technical ability like Bret the Hitman Hart and, you know, Ultimo Dragon and Dean Malenko and all those guys, and Lance Storm, who was underrated. I feel like when I was wrestling, I represented those guys, and I still carry that to this day. You know, when you wrestle, when you step in the ring and CJ Mondo, you're bringing Tommy Dreamer back to life. You're bringing the franchise Shane Douglas, you know, and Tommy Rich, and you said Moxley, Dean Ambrose. You know, all their styles combined when you step in the ring. You know what I mean? And that's okay as a wrestler, in my opinion. You know, you want to be unique, you want to be different, you want to stand out. I've never seen a CJ Mondo anywhere. Your hardcore style is something that I appreciate. Thank you for that, because a lot of people in call right now, call has always been built on the noob, the common noob. What I mean by that is that car was always built around the guy who's trying to be Jeff Hardy, the guy that's trying to be Finn Balor, you know, the guy that's trying to rip off of Seth Rollins, the guy that's trying to rip off like Undertaker or AJ Styles or some shit like that, you know. And so this is what call is, whether we like it or not. Call was built on the new, because that's how it started. But when you talk about putting together a wrestling show, because you have promoters out there who don't deserve, who shouldn't have a wrestling show. We're talking about the real promoters who are out there trying to do it for the culture, trying to save cause, trying to protect it, keep it alive. For the real promoters that are out there in call, and those are the only ones that I respect that are out there doing their shit. And for the wrestlers out there in call, I feel, in my opinion, that you stand out and you mean more to call when you are yourself, number one. And number two, you create a foundation and a psychology and a style that equates to someone going, oh, this reminds me of Kevin Impact. This reminds me of CJ Mondo. This reminds me of Mark Bennett. You know, like, you get your own style. You know what I mean? In wrestling, there's a lot of that slack and laziness that people just whipping off of shit. And when I see you, when I get the opportunity to talk to you, not only am I honored to talk to you, CJ, because now I would have interacted with someone who had a link back to Harley Race and Shane Douglas and whatnot, all these guys, you know. So that to me is special to my heart, and everybody that's listening right now, watching, because of you, is now linked into that system because you came on this show and shared your story, and everybody who witnessed it is now part of it. They now know someone who's linked back to all this. We're connected in a way, you know. So this makes me feel really good. This is a side of wrestling that I appreciate and I love so much when it comes to Carl. A lot of people have come to me and told me that they rather watch JT, or they rather watch an MPW, a DBW, a wrestling show, virtual wrestling show, over what's on TV. And that hurts me. And I get a bad rep because there's a lot of people out there that watch this show, listen to it, or see what I put up on social media and instantly tag me and smear me with the idea and the misconception that I'm just some hater, that I hate on everything that TKO, you know, that TKO's version of WWE is doing and all this. And that's not true. You know, it's just that a lot of what's going on in wrestling now from an expert, as much as you want to hate on me saying that or whatnot, and I do consider myself an expert and a strong fan of professional wrestling, just like you, and maybe some other people watching this, going to watch this later, listen to it, that there's a lot of things wrong in wrestling right now. And for the modern consumer who does not know, that don't have that mindset and that background to protect them, they don't know the harm. They don't know what's happened to wrestling. They watch wrestling, go, "Oh, this is dope," not knowing that these companies are just tearing it apart. You know, from how great it used to be, now it's just basic. So they become accustomed to basic and generic and standard. You know, as opposed to the psychology and the characteristics that came out of professional wrestling, the gimmick, characters, the promo work, you know, the in-ring ability. In 2025, you don't have to have much to offer to get to the top of TKO's WWE and AEW. All you have to do is put the right penis in your mouth, eat the right ass, suck the right ball sack, kiss the right ass, be in the right place at the right time, marry into the right family, screw the right person, and boom, you're an instant star overnight because the company takes you and just walks you to the top like you're some bona fide, overqualified Hall of Famer. Maybe that's okay to wrestling fans now, but it's not okay to me, and that's the reason I stopped watching. I'm not gonna go all into that, you know what I mean? But you know, just wrestling to me now is Carl. I love Carl. I love Carl with all of my heart. It is the work of my life. It is the love of my life. It is my passion. Is CAW. CAW is something beautiful we made. All of us that are in this shit, I talk about this time and time again. We made Carl what it is today. And even for a fuck ass son of a bitch like Mike Dag or anyone else out there that is even cancer to CAW, even them, all of us together made Carl what it is today because we ushered in this era. So you want to talk about Shane Douglas, you want to talk about anybody from the Attitude Era, anybody that was anybody in wrestling that made it famous, made it popular, Roddy Piper. The list goes on and on of people. Andre the Giant, you know, Bobo Brazil, Coco Beware. I mean, 80s guys, 90s guys, you know, Junkyard Dog. I mean, these were 80s guys. You had 90s guys from the Attitude Era, 2000s people. Anybody that made wrestling famous, we made CAW famous. We're that version in our world. From me to you, Kevin Impact, CJ Mondo, you know, to all the JTV guys, to everybody that's been in and whatever company you want to mention. So I love Call. I love CAW. It's a beautiful thing that we need to protect. And like CJ Mondo said earlier, there's no reason to keep on each other. Once upon a time, JTV, mainly me, with the involvement of individuals, Ray Nakai, Ray Everett included, decided to form a power org. And we were attempting to bring companies together for the better part of CAW. We were succeeding. But because there were egos bigger than some people's penises, because of the fact that it just wasn't enough, because of jealousy and bullshit and propaganda, it fell apart. And that bothered me because as I got older, I thought I was walking away from something good that I helped create so that other promotions can profit off of it, can benefit off of it, and we can cherish what we made and we can expand even after I'm gone, even after we are gone from Call. You know, because our time is limited in Call. That's why we have to love and appreciate it and have fun. Not be bitching, not be complaining, not be hating, not be telling people to block people and being controlling and all this shit. You know?
Yep, I agree with that statement.
You know what I'm saying? So, and you could jump into it, whatever you want to say, cut me off if you want to, but I'm just saying that this is a beautiful thing. We made this. Don't you understand that we made this? This is something we made. Everyone that's in Call should be happy and proud of themselves. You are a part of something special. We made a unique world of wrestling. The wrestling that we don't love growing up. Everybody that we don't idolize. We done made our own world. This is a very powerful and unique thing that we made. And there's a lot of people that are on Call that they don't grasp the nature and the severity of this. You know? And they're all gonna realize that after we're done from Call. Call will continue to expand. All this we're doing right now, we're building archives. We're building library for Call. You know what I mean? Whether you're in QPW over there with Ray and Devin or over here or anywhere else, we're building archives for the future of the industry in this gaming world. So what you do, it does matter. You can't be going after no little kids being on some pedo shit. You can't be on some bullshit. You can't be, you know, all this shit that you know you shouldn't be doing. You know what I mean? Because you're leaving a legacy behind. And I'll be damned if the box office hit Kevin Impact ain't trying to leave a positive legacy behind. Same with CJ Mondo. You know what I mean? So we're not in CAW for the propaganda and bullshit. CJ Mondo, I'm the same way as him. I have passion. I love this industry. I love what we built. I want to continue building and expanding and creating special moments. I mean, I didn't get into this industry to boss anybody around or ruin anybody's life or anybody's career. I try to be everybody's friend. It's just unfortunately me and CJ Mondo along the way met a lot of really terrible people. And I'm trying to watch my mouth, you know? And it's been something that has been ongoing. But we have a beautiful thing that we've created here, and it should be appreciated, goddammit. Stop that. I want to talk to you about and I'm not really sure if anybody's having difficulty in the comment section, but I'm having like a B type of echo type of sound going on with you. I don't know if you're able to fix that on your end, CJ, but it's like really all in my ear. But I'm gonna keep talking to you along the way. There might be a lot of questions I gotta get to. I'll scroll up little by little, get to everybody's question. But I want to talk to you about one of our good buddies. I want to get some background on it. Talk to you about PWA. I don't know if you know him. I'm assuming you know him as Alex King.
Yep.
We just changed his wrestling name to Jason King. It was a mutual thing. It wasn't a you have to change your name type of thing. We both agreed on it. I want to go with Jason King. And as Alex King, you know, I have known Alex King for several years, and he's been a good kid. He's got a good heart. He's a great guy, and I enjoyed my friendship with him for quite some time. And I got to know a few people that he knew. Um, you know, one in particular that I am going to mention because of the fact that he mentioned me on several different podcasts, and I never mentioned him. You know, this person tried to lie about me and tear me apart on podcasts, which is weird to me because I met this guy through Ray. Met this guy through Ray Nakai, and he goes by the name of Kevin Wolf. Kevin Wolf may or may not know him, and he this is a guy that I met through him who said different things about me. I never replied to it because it was a bunch of bullshit. You know what I mean? But there was never any intimidation on my end to reply. And I'm on here mentioning it and talking about it just so we understand that there's no intimidation or nothing that that individual said. I've known this guy to have medical issues, so I'm not going to come after him. I mean, that's why I didn't come after him, because he had medical issues. One day he's my friend, the next day he's ripping me apart in some podcast, and I don't understand why. You know what I mean? So he's someone that has been around me and Jason King. Jason has been around several toxic people as well in call. One I'm thinking about, I'm not going to mention that individual, but they might get mentioned in the comment section. And some of these individuals have really tried to, for a lack of a better term, manipulate and try to sort of direct Jason on how to think, how to be, what to do, what not to do. You know, manipulative type of shit. And to me, it's been very interesting. And I'm gonna tell you what, because of the background noise, I'm gonna mute you. Or whenever you want to speak, just unmute yourself. All right, CJ?
All right.
Yeah, let's do it like that. 'Cause I can't even focus with the noise that's jumping up. So whenever you want to speak, just you can unmute yourself. You have the ability to do it. All right. All right. So okay, he had muted himself. We fighting back and forth with the mute button. My bad. I'm gonna mute you. Hold on. All right. So anytime he wants to speak, he can speak. He just has to unmute himself. Jason King dealt with a lot of shit in call that I didn't like. You know, I got to know him better that way. There were different people we talked about that was giving him a hard time, and I just gave him the best advice that I can. And it was something that he really fought hard. And this is when I really got to know Jason King. He really fought hard to stay friends with these people. He did the best that he could to stay friends with these people. And it became something that, you know, it's kind of like, respectfully, I don't mean this as a shot, but, you know, Devin, Ray, you know, OG Wheezy, they have their backs and forth. It happens with friends. It happens with family. You know what I mean? But they always find a way to make peace, and I like that about them. And I respect that about them. Jason King was someone that is kind of the same way. He didn't want to give up on certain people that was trying to be on some bullshit with him, you know? So uh with that, he would fight some of these guys time and time again, and then it'll get to a point where it's like they make peace again. And I'd always tell them, you know, if it's this bad and they're trying to do all this stuff to you, and me and Kevin Wolf used to talk to him about it, then maybe you should discontinue the friendship. You know what I mean? What's the point of being friends with someone if they're going to keep bringing you a hard time, you know? So Jason King is someone, you know, who's a great guy. He's a great friend. He put up with that until he couldn't do it anymore. And then finally came to me and let me know that he was done, couldn't do it anymore. What I want to know from you, CJ, is your understanding and relationship with Jason King or Alex King, and how did you come into PWA, which is the Pro Wrestling Alliance, owned by Alex King, who is in JTV as Jason King.
Well, it's a long story on that subject. So at the time, I left HKW. I think either I left or got fired because it's been so many years ago and I don't even remember what happened.
Let me pause you real quick before you continue, because I feel that this is important. Here's a guy you might know in the comments. Big John Bundy says, "Glad to see my cousin getting credit for his time in call." We just put the
Yep.
his message is up there on the screen. He's giving you a shout out, showing you love in the comments, just so you know.
Yeah, he's in a number one contender match on my show to face Alex King for the international title.
Right. All right, sorry to cut you off. Continue your story, man. We're listening to you. Mike's all yours.
So now, after I got fired or released from HKW, I think at the time I went to FMW, which is ran by Colton Clark. That's the owner's name of Fat Money Wrestling. So I met JMR, which is Alex King, at the time, and Alex King's like, CJ, I'm opening the company. If you really want to be interested, I could put you on the show and we can let you do your own thing. So at the time I was, skeptical. I'm like, yeah, I want to join, but I mean, too many EFEDS. And then, when HKW let me go, I got back with Jason. I'm like, let's, give it a shot. Let's run the course. Let's put this 100% down to where it needed to be. So Jason pretty much done an awesome job at making Mondo's movesets. I mean, he done I'd say he probably done a better job than me making my own call, if that's saying something. He basically made me look like every promoter should make their talent look as good. Yeah, I won some matches. Yeah, I lost some matches, but it don't matter about wins and losses. It's about having fun. That's the main thing. And a lot of people in call, I feel like they are clingy to win every time. Like if they don't win, then it becomes a problem to them and they take it up with the owner or the guy that's doing the story writing or the creativity. I mean, it just goes on and on. And, it's to the point that, when you have that problem, it's like, it's not really the problem with the management. It's the problem with one star because he or she or they or him, whatever they want to pronoun themselves, can't get their way. It's like they are born to have everything they want, but they don't want to actually work for it. And, going back to what I learned in the business wise, there's a lot of work to do to earn titles. That's what most people don't realize when they walk into an EFED and don't really do the business, walking into the business portion. And I'm not talking about video game. I'm talking about the real thing. Because the real thing, you're not going to get a title shot walking in the first thing. It's earned. That's scars. That's years of putting work in to not only that business, but also the whole entire wrestling business. It's not just the business that's locally. That's, federal. That's going to shows across the US, across Canada, all around the world. And to be honest, the call section, here's where they literally don't have enough common sense to think about stuff, especially when they have problems with their talent or their if they want to recruit. This is the main thing that gets me, Kevin. I don't know if it does you, but the main thing that really gets me about this topic is they don't go to an owner and talk to them before they grab their talent. That really irks me, because here I am building this guy up for somebody else to take and then come and ask me for him.
Yes, sir.
So in other words, like PWA, like I'm going back to this conversation, PWA, you know, JMR, he took the time to actually build me up the right way. He showed me stuff that not many owners, this is before I got in Ray's company and before I got to know Ray. He showed me a lot of stuff that even other toxic companies didn't want to show me. They didn't want to even let me know about the list of, I guess you could call it like the regulations portion of it. Then you have their structures part of the business, like the world title. You know, you got to have like the guys that's been there and done that to fight over that title. You got the, you know, the lower titles that are like mid carders. That's right. They had their time in, but they're not up to world championship status. Then you got tag teams that's been in there, been teams for 10 to 15 years in the business, earning shots at tag teams. Same for the women's title. They proved their battle scars to get to that opportunity. And you see, the call community, their biggest problem is they don't want to talk about things. They want to cause more problems than find a solution.
Right. I agree with that.
And, you know, it's funny how I'm going to mention this company. Okay. And you probably had problems with them too, but I'm going to mention this company like C2CW.
You can mention whoever you want. I don't know who the hell they are. No, yeah, I know who they are. I hear that they have issues with me, but I don't have no issues with them because
so
I don't.
Basically, the rumor got around that I said something about Blue's wife when I never did. So in other words, instead of him jumping on my ass and literally downgraded me to put me as the bad guy, he should have got the proof of information instead of falsely accusing me of the bullshit that wasn't true, that somebody, you know, stirred around and pretty much made me look like the bad guy when I know deep down in my heart I don't do that kind of shit. You know, that's just not me.
Right.
And the truth is about this community is, you know, I agree with what you said in, you know, the past 30 minutes when you was talking about the problem is with people, they don't really want to come to agreement. They want to cause all this toxic shit. And it goes back to what you said. They don't really want to come to agreement. They don't want to be positive. They'd rather have negative stuff than work on positive to make change for 15 years down the road that they don't realize what they do impacts their legacy and not ours.
Right. Not yet. They don't realize it yet. They're ignorant, you know. A lot of these people who have like a call show or a league or EFED or whatnot are people who either wanted to boss somebody around, or just wanted to like be in control. And a lot of the times, sometimes you have to look into that because everything has a background, an origin story, if you will. You know what I mean? A lot of these kids that give themselves a show and then want to try to manipulate shit, sometimes there's a psychological background into which they were manipulated or controlled and stuff like that, and then they're just kind of excelling that, you know, that they're pushing out of them that negative energy by doing to others as was done to them. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happened with Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon had this ruthless aggression stuff with him because he used to be abused. You know what I mean? And all this other stuff that happened to him when he was a kid, whether it was sexually or whether it was getting beat up, you know what I mean, by his stepdad or his dad, you know, because Vince Sr. wasn't in his life like that. He was running the WWF back in the day and making a name for himself all throughout New York City. And, you know, he had Bruno Sammartino and all these other guys. Dad wasn't in Vince McMahon Jr.'s life, you know, which is Vincent Kennedy McMahon. He didn't have his father. And I'm sorry to say that because there's a lot of people watching, listening who have Listen, everybody has family problems. I hate people that act like they ain't got problems. Everybody got problems in their family and in their lives, you know. But my heart goes out to anyone that has had issues with their parents. You know what I mean? Um, it's something that happens. All of us have experienced it. I'm no stranger, you know, and sometimes families get to make peace and be happy. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes family goes away. They don't get to say goodbye. These things happen. These things hurt. You know what I mean? Some of these kids that are on call is just like there's an origin story. So I feel bad in the sense that there's some of them who went through some shit, and that's the reason why they're toxic and they're full of shit, and because they were taught wrong. I'm not the guy who's trying to really destroy them and keep them there. I'm the guy that's trying to expose their bullshit and then help them see the light. That's all I ever tried to do. Any issue that I ever had with anyone that has wrestled on this channel or has wrestled within the circle of JTV, um, and we had issues, it's always been about education and just how can we make peace? How can we grow from this? I can't make peace with anyone. I can't make peace with everyone that I've had issues with. I just can't do it anymore because I've done it too many times, or it's so personal that there's no reason to try. But uh, in some cases, there's times when you can make peace. Nick Kaiken, I saw earlier because I have my back turned right now, so I don't know what they're saying in the comments. But Nick has mentioned a few times around me of making peace with certain people and talking to certain people. Ray has made peace with OG and Devin more times than we can count. We've experienced this all around us, and on this channel, we don't bullshit. We keep it real for you. You know what I mean? But it's beautiful because they make peace and they get along. And even though there's times when childishness comes into it, they still make peace like grown men. That shit is important. Very important. A lot of guys that are lying about me or making shit up about me that I don't even know about that never happened, um, they're not man enough to go to my inbox and make peace the right way and admit they're wrong. Some are, and some have done that, and we've made peace. You know what I mean? Ray being one of those guys, and Malcolm Barry, you know, that there's been issues I didn't know about with people because of stuff that has been said about me that I never said, or that I had issues with them, and I didn't even know who they were. You know what I mean? A lot of this is it's happened for me in call. The mic, we have open air time right now for you to jump in and speak on such things as well if you would like, CJ. But I'm saying my side on this, that everybody has an origin story. I feel bad in a way for some people because they went through some shit and taught the wrong way, but you know right from wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's the thing. I look at this as this. There's been too many people getting hurt, and I'm not talking about in call. I'm talking about in the real business for
Right.
people that act like wrestlers to be called to disrespect. I know it's a video game, but still, in a way, it's disrespecting those that was in the real business that got hurt to pave the way for the video game era. So,
Okay, so you feel that by toxic people being in call and doing the bullshit that they do, it's a direct insult to the real professional
yes,
wrestlers that are out
it is.
there. Okay, got you.
Because I mean, you look at it. Look at the guys that's put work in, like Tommy Rich, like Shane Douglas. You got Harley Race. You got even Barbarian.
The
Guys like that.
barbarian.
You take guys like that that's
Damn.
been in the ring for at least 10, 15, 20, 35 years in the ring and done what they done, and you take like guys that's on a video game like me, you, and JMR, Mark, KD, and all these other guys that's been treated badly because we know the rights and wrongs of the business, and people don't like the right way of doing things. They want to do things the wrong way, disrespecting people. The way I learned by going in the business, it's about respect. It's brotherhood. So if you can't respect somebody, you don't need to be in the business, period. Either
Yes,
real
sir.
life or not, or in call. That's just the way I see things. And if they get pissed off, I guess you could say I pulled a CM Punk nuke bomb on the JTV podcast.
Absolutely, and JTV for sure. But I like to combine, man. You know, because I also do it for the culture. So even with JTV, I also represent anyone and everyone in call that always wanted to speak out, that was abused in EFEDS and promotions, that went through shit, that dealt with shit. You know, this is kind of like, this is why I call it the home of CAW, because I like to think of it that way, that it's an open house, that anyone is welcome. You know, what I mean, you don't have to feel bad here. You know, like we work with you, we talk with you. You know, I don't want to blow smoke up my ass or nothing like that, or JTV's ass or nothing like that. But I'm someone that stands for what a lot of people in CAW should fight for. And there's been a lot of injustice in call, people who want to keep hush hush and quiet about shit. You know, I've had personal friends of mine in this fucking industry that have been attacked and blackmailed and tried to be manipulated, and you know, just because they spoke their mind, they tried to blacklist them, but since they were around me, you just couldn't do the shit, you know, because we're strong and we stand up for what's right. And you know, I get a bad rep for stuff like that, you know, because it's not popular to be the good guy. It's not popular to do the right thing. You know, everybody just wants to be on some fuck shit. I disagree with that. You know what I'm saying? I think you have to be a little ambitious in the CAW industry, of course, especially if you're trying to make it to the top. But I don't believe in having to step on your fellow associates. I don't believe in stabbing people in the fucking back. I don't believe in lying about people. You know what I'm saying? You got me, CJ?
That's 100% truth, what you just said right there.
You damn right. You know, so it infuriates me when I see that type of stuff, when especially a car promoter in CAW, your job is not to put your fucking ego into it and everything that you believe. It has to be you being open-minded to your entire roster and their suggestions, and it has to be you putting your roster first, always, as a matter of fact, over you. When I retired from in-ring competition, part of that decision came from just the understanding that this person needs airtime. This person needs to get booked. I got a whole roster of people that I'm trying to make into stars. So it's my job to be a part of that. It's not my job to go, oh, I don't like CJ Mondo, so I'm gonna just slow him down or hold him back. You know, if I'm gonna do that, right? Why the fuck do I have you on my roster to begin with? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. You know,
And you know,
so
going back to that, I don't mean to interrupt you, Kevin,
no,
about
go
that.
ahead.
Going back to
Keep
that,
talking. Go
it
right
goes
ahead.
back to that logo stuff that they've been pulling, like FCJ Mondo. I mean, if you're going to disrespect me, at least, you know, do it on a podcast or something of that nature. Don't do it on a logo. I mean,
Yes.
I can respect it if you was going to do it face to face, but at the same time, don't disrespect me because I made the right choice by leaving a show that was unprofessional, that started something they should have never started, because now I'm going to be the CM Punk and put them on blast, and if they don't like it, what can they do to me? Absolutely fucking nothing.
No, and then the issue that comes with shit like that is that you got a lot of sensitive little bitches in cars. So you have a lot of grown ass men, you know, over their 30s and into their 40s that when they do shit like that to you and you reply and you respond to them, it's just the end of their whole world. And they wake up the next day after that, they wake up every day for the rest of their lives to hate on you, to try to get your friends to turn on you, to try to bring you down, bring your name down, your character down, and try to bring down your promotion. You know what I mean? And I just think that it's childish, it's bullshit, it's cancerous to the industry, and it's a waste of time. You know, I've had people that
And here's the thing. You said something about the industry. This brings a good point, too.
Yeah.
Going back to Smoky Mountain days, if you had a promotion that done the stuff that they did back in the old days, it wouldn't be a promotion all the companies would combine and literally get that promotion shut down because of the lack of wrestling knowledge, is what I like to call it. Because wrestling, yes, you have your drama, but it don't have the negativity that they have put in, if that makes sense. I'm trying to explain it better on a level that the fans here can understand.
Right. Gotcha.
So basically, it's like you want to target somebody just because they want to better themselves, just because they done what they wanted to do in your show, and then you want to basically put their name out like a shit show.
Yeah. And let me just throw in there that when you got your own show, I understand that you have your own rules. I get that. But when you have a call show that you're trying to have be a success and you want it to be welcoming, you have to be open-minded to creativity from others. And if someone does not like something, you do not force them to do it. I don't like doing things that if I have a concept, an idea, something I need, something I want, and someone does not like it, I scratch it. That's it. Because I don't want someone to have to do this. I wouldn't want to do something that I don't like. You know what I mean? Anywhere I've ever worked, if I was not happy and I didn't like it, I'm out. That's just how I look at it.
That's how I am too. I just don't appreciate the hate, because this community, it should be positive. It shouldn't be about, you coming into somebody's company and then having somebody's companies. And here's what they did. I'll tell you the truth on this, J Kid. They literally had a guy that don't like me on the back of his shirt saying that my company wrestling sucked.
Right.
That's how toxic and low they went.
I've seen a lot of dirty shit. I've seen back in the CC days before we were on YouTube. It's gonna have to come back to me because I'm getting old and it's been a while.
And I agree with Chris Blackman here. He said, "Real recognize real, respect recognize respect." That's what this business is about. It's about respect and brotherhood. And if these EFEDers don't respect the real business and don't respect the brotherhood that's behind it, I definitely agree with Kevin Impact. They don't belong. They do not belong in call whatsoever.
If it's that serious to you, if it's that bad, get out. Get out, man. CAW is not for you. If you think you're so tough, go to the military, go to the army and show how tough you are. Go become a boxer. Go, if you're that tough, go to the moon. You know what I mean? Like figure something else out,
or go to MMA. There's a lot of guys that love to shut tough guys on the internet up. I mean,
you damn right. Or join me and Nick in the Call of Duty lobby. You know what I mean? You gotta find a way to take out your frustration, man. You can't come to call and it's literally cancer in a bottle.
Now there was a question that Mark answered. I'm gonna scroll back up here. He said something about, is HKW still around? Unfortunately, no. HKW is not around. They closed the doors, but I can proudly say that I've been a former Chaos champion there. And like I said, much love and respect goes to Brian Mead for pushing my call to be what I am today. So much respect goes out to him. And if he ever reopens the company, brother, I'm just a DM or call away.
Well, there you go. And this was Mark?
Yeah, this was Mark Bannerman. Chris Blackman answered. I had a question. What would you name your own type of special match? Well, there's 3 matches I literally have specifically for Mondo. Extreme Rules, dedicating it to ECW guys. A Hell in a Cell with Extreme Rules twist I call the Violent Cage match. Then you have the Steel Cage match, like we know as War Games, where it's 3-on-3 or 4-on-4. I call the Lethal Lockdown. I try to tribute that to my TNA memories with Sting and the rest of those guys who made Lethal Lockdown for what it is.
Right. They had some interesting concepts in TNA, Ultimate X and whatnot. They were trying.
And then Alex King asked, so Kev, are we going to ever get CJ Mondo in the ring? That is something that
we'll get back to you on that. we'll get back to everybody on that. You know, right now we're just listening to stories, and he's here as a representative of QPW Wrestling, which is the new formation of MPW with DBW. How do you feel about that, man?
I mean, to be honest, I feel blessed to be in QPW and DBW. I mean, both Ray and Devin know their stuff. That's why that I join the companies. You know, I don't join companies. There's a problem that there's a not really a problem. There's a thing that I always go by, especially in call, and I found it very very true to be a lurk about, because here's what you guys need to understand: if the company ain't like a wrestling business, and it don't treat you like a wrestling business, and it don't have that respect and brotherhood, don't join it, because it's toxic as fuck. That's the only thing I'm going to say about that issue, that topic.
Well, on to some more stuff. The Third Eye, Chris Conscience, the mind of CAW Professional Wrestling, wanted to ask, do you know Brandon Cuevas by chance?
That would be okay. I think it's the guy that was in that company that I talked about earlier. He left, I think, because the same reasons, or maybe different reasons. Like I said, I don't really know, but I do know Brandon Cuevas.
But not on a personal level. It was just like from the far. And I got
now Alex King did ask a question on my part that I can answer, not on JTV's part, but on my part. What would my tag team finisher be? JMR, you should know me by now. If I had a tag team partner and we was doing tag team finishers, I'm going to tribute the Dudley Boys 3D drop all the way. Get the tables.
It's a great movie. It was fun on No Mercy. N64 3D. I got some more questions here. I got Devin Kiloa asks, did you ever watch CZW?
I think the only time I watched him was that death match that they had. I can't remember who was in it.
Well, I'm assuming Devin is saying the real CZW, because I know there's a CZW in call. Maybe there's a few of them because of the copy and paste technique.
I watched the one that he's talking about. If it's the real one, that there was two guys in a death match. They had like light tubes, and they had the tables like with light tubes. But I can't remember the two guys that was in that match, though. I have to go back and watch it to literally tell them.
All right. That's a fair response. What about this one right here? Devin Kiloa asked, would CJ want to join the Divine Hollows?
It depends, because I'm a heel. I'm no baby face. I love to get the crowd going. I love to be the antagonist. So if it's a heel group, you can count me in. But if it's one of those baby boppers, is what I call them as a heel, they can take their baby boppers and kiss the crowd's butt.
All right. Quantum Pro Wrestling, the organization that pays your paycheck, asks, did you watch New Japan Pro Wrestling or Stardom? Were you a fan?
I'm a fan of New Japan Pro Wrestling because that's where Jon Moxley won his U.S. title. So I know about New Japan. But the Stardom, I don't think I've ever watched it. I watched Ray's Stardom, like his version. I think it's called Starlight, but I've not watched Stardom.
Well, let's go into that. That's an interesting topic to focus on there while I put this comment up from Nick. So going to MPW, because we haven't had a chance to really go into Ray and Devin yet. We talked about Jason King, or I mean, did we? did we really finish up with Jason King? I mean, you guys got along. He brought you into PWA. How did that go?
After he brought me into PWA, like I said, it opened so many companies' doors. It opened Ray's, then Devon's, then, like I said, before I joined it, I was in HKW. Then I went to ONW, which I should have never joined because of the toxicity. I mean, joining PWA was a career booster. It literally got my name out and helped me tremendously. So, I mean, I would say if you're new and wanting to call EFED or call community to join PWA. That's just going to be my response.
Right.
Because Jason knows how to run a company.
And they're AI or they're PvP?
It's AI versus AI.
All right, it's different things I want to talk to you about, and it's interesting because I don't have a goddamn script in front of me. I'm just going off the dome. So, how do you feel about PvP shows and AI shows? What is your view on that?
Well, the first PvP show that I watched was yours with JTV, and I absolutely love the idea. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm basically an AI versus AI guy, but I'm not best on the controller. So, if I was going to join a PvP show, it would be JTV. That'd be the only company out of the PvP shows besides Ray's that's the only two companies I'll join, because you guys, like I said, know your product and know a little bit or more to the wrestling business than what other people know.
And I appreciate the compliment, and it means a lot. But let me reiterate what I'm really trying to ask. So there's this stigma in call of the difference with AI style wrestling and PvP wrestling. There's guys that do PvP wrestling who really don't respect AI wrestlers because it's like PvP, you really have to be able to wrestle the part and win. And in AI, somebody will just simulate you to win and put titles on you and whatnot. What would be your response to this on my Arsenio Hall type shit? What would be your response?
I mean, both styles are good. Don't get me wrong.
I agree.
I
agree
mean,
with that.
don't get me wrong, because I mean, you could be the worst PvP player, but on AI side, they can make you look like a top branded star.
Absolutely, I agree.
Just like you could be the worst AI player and you could go PvP and pretty much be the top major star in their eyes. So I mean, it's vice versa. I mean, you got to look at it as a twofold way here, because some guys are not really good at being PvP. I'm one of them. Like, I'm probably the worst PvP player in gaming history, but like I said, I love the ideal. I mean, if you're all
Yeah.
about it, I say go for it. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not going to downgrade it. And, just like one of my friends used to tell me all the time, think before you speak.
Yes, sir.
It goes a long way with the AI versus PvP. There's one negative word that you could say that could get a fire started before you even know it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I agree with that. The way that I feel about it, we do. We'll get to some questions here in a moment, but the way I feel about it is just that I think that it's just different styles. You know what I mean? I think that an AI guy can't really brag about whooping anybody's ass legitimately, just in character, because if someone's playing the match for you, you're not really whipping anybody's ass. You know what I mean? But in character, I think it works. And from PvP perspective, it's like you said, some people can back it up, some people can't. I've seen a lot of people that couldn't back it up in JTV, and then they train, and then they got better, and then they became better than me. And I don't have a problem saying that. Keith Ocean
I
being one
think
of
you
those
told me
guys.
stories about that too, on how the worst PvP guys end up becoming champions in JTV. So yeah, I think you told me stories about that one.
Anything is possible in call, and anything can happen in call. You know,
I mean,
sometimes
only thing I'm going to say about the topic, if you're not better, there's an old saying that I guess one of my good friends that's, he owned a company. I think he's well known in the Kentucky wrestling community, not in EFED wise, King Cantrell. He said that practice makes perfect. If you don't know what you're doing, go home, study the product, study the physiologically behind it. You'll get better. It's just all about studying and practicing in the ring. And, it goes a long way for the EFED too. Practice, get a buddy online, keep on doing it until you get better. That's how you're going to improve. If you sit there and basically complain about it, you're not going to get better at anything.
it's a great message, and I absolutely agree with it. I'm going to go to some of these questions that we have here on the side. Jason King says, if you was to ever come out of retirement, oh, he's talking to me. Kevin Impact, do you think if you would ever face CJ Mondo? Okay, well, since that's directed at me, I'll answer that. CJ Mondo is a name that's been around several years. I've heard of him. I never thought that I was going to have the opportunity to meet him. I never thought I was going to meet OG Weezy. Never thought I was going to get to talk to Chris Conscience, because I've seen you guys around all over the place, and I still feel honored that I got to work, even if it was AI'd. And XVPW, sorry, Conscience, I'm gonna get fired after this. With the owner of XVPW, I got to work with Noah Youngblood. That to me is special, because I didn't really go to EFEDS and I didn't really go to other PvP shows. I've always been a JTV guy. I went to one wrestling show that me and Chris Conscience and some of you listening were a part of, in which I was made a world champion and then chumped out to be put on an NXT form show like I was some sort of a rookie or some sort of a jabroni, which was interesting to me because the entire company itself was an NXT style. To put me on a lesser show in a lesser company is just comedic. I had an experience and while champion at this particular company that made me a chump NXT world champion, I had eventually left because of politics. Don't really have to go into it. And did take a lot of pride being champion at that promotion. I was also champion on Craig's show one time several years ago. Myself and the All-Star Kid, Corey Flash, worked for his world championship title to give it lineage and legitimacy. And he done win and, of course, fucked everything up. Me and Corey were outside of the door faster than you can say top that. And that was like, I don't know, 17, 18, 19, whatever it was. I think it was 19. But back in 2K14, and this is the end of this, just to go back to the CJ Mondo thing. In 2K14 era, JTV was going away because we was doing the show on community creation story designer, for those that remember. In my opinion, 2K14 is the last best WWE game that has ever been released. All the rest of them that have come out is just arguably, in my opinion. So with that, when JTV was going away because story designer was going away, starting in 2K15, because 2K15 was the first official game that 2K had worked on. In 2K14, they had just purchased the shit, from THQ. So we were going through a lot of changes at that time. I didn't know Chris Conscience. I knew him, but I didn't know him personally. We were friends, but we weren't friends. Interesting, right? And so I didn't have a lot of people I needed. I didn't know a Shendon existed. I didn't know a Mark Bennon. I didn't have No Kills with me. For those that know, I'm speaking in general and to the JTV crowd right now. Like, I didn't have the people I needed. Corey Flash was out to the military, serving our country, being a hero, and being the commando. You know what I mean? Arnold Schwarzenegger type. And I didn't have the people I needed. I got an offer from Craig because I talked to Ray. Craig was not the guy I needed to make my career work out. I went to different places. I talked to COH, Travis Sparks. We have talked and done minor business in the past, and I got an offer from COH. I just said no. I wasn't interested in going to COH respectfully. And I do respect Travis. I give him a lot of respect. He's a subscriber to this channel. He watches us. Smash that like button. Thumbs up to you, Travis. Um, we've never had in-depth conversations, whatever. Never really went to COH, but I've had people that I know compete there, been a part of that promotion. And um, some of the other promotions that were in our Power or network, I didn't really want to be a part of because I just thought that I just thought they were bad. I just thought that they were shit. The only promotion that I had interest in that I liked was MPW. Y'all's show was the only one that I'm like, that's the show I could watch. Everything else is just like, it's bad. It's TKO AEW modern TV bad, in my opinion. So I didn't really want to sign with anybody, whatever. Ray Geddes talked to me and we had a conversation about Call All Stars tournament. I try to get out there. I try to get on something else, but I can't remember what it was anymore, and I don't want to lie and make shit up. But Car All Stars was a tournament I tried to get into. I tried to talk to the individuals involved over there, the ones in charge, I should say. Someone that I spoke to, the second boss that I spoke to, because it was an event, it wasn't a company. I got booked, and when I got booked to do a match, I was told that it was Kevin Impact going up against Chuck Norris. And I go, the actor, Chuck Norris? And they was like, yeah. And I was like, I'm out. See you later. And all the respect in the world to Chuck Norris, who's an icon of film in Hollywood and a man's man and a badass. I got nothing but love for Chuck Norris, and I grew up with Chuck Norris. That's one of the guys who inspired me in becoming Kevin Impact, along with everything else that inspired me coming up from Bruce Lee to New Jack City, Wesley Snipes, and everything else, that inspired me in my life. Chuck Norris was one of those things. So I got respect for Chuck Norris, but I just thought that it was an insult to me that they were putting me against Chuck Norris. I mean, I could have wrestled Cameron Bash or some shit. You could have put me against a Nick Kayken or Chris Conscience or whoever you had, Ray Geddes. You could have put me against somebody prominent or not even prominent, somebody on the come up. We tried to get Nick Virtue on here many years ago and it didn't work out. Whoever. You could have put me up against Eve Heron. You know what I'm saying? You could have put me against Black Heron since I hear so much about the guy. Anybody, but you picked Chuck Norris. I'm like, fuck this, man. I got the fuck out of there. I learned Photoshop. I got me a laptop and I got us a YouTube deal. The rest is history. So JTV's been my home the entire time. CJ Mondo. He's been around. He's a guy I think I can work with. He's a guy I think I can get a good PvP match out of if we stepped into the ring. I just think it'll be interesting because for me I would have to play his game because he might bring some barbed wire. He might bring a shopping cart full of light bulbs and glass and some TNT to try to blow off one of my limbs. You know what I mean? He might bring a stapler gun. There's no telling what CJ Mondo might bring. I've done a little backyard wrestling back in the day on PS2. A lot of us have been a part of that. You know what I mean? But CJ Mondo could probably give me a good challenge in terms of just a really hardcore wrestling match. Hardcore and wrestling, as in weapons, and then me bringing my arm bar, my atomic drop, my tree of woe, the suplex, the plague of impact. So I think I could get a good wrestling match out of him. I think he could get a good hardcore match out of me. That's what I think. And I think it's a dream match. You know what I mean? If I ever decide to put the sunglasses back on, the AVs go back on, and put the boots back on, it's something to consider. You know, I've been getting a few challenges lately, from Chris Conscience to OG Wheezy to Devin Kiloa to Shendon. You know, you name them. So all the time I'm getting this, and I'm not here for me. I'm here to put people over and to work with people because I feel like that time has passed, but you never know. If I ever got to see foot, if I ever got to see fit to put my foot in CJ Mondo's ass, you damn sure better believe I'll top that. Now, moving on, we're going to move on. We're getting ready to go. Our last hour has begun for the show. Nick Ken says, Nick Ken versus CJ Mondo one day. How about that Nick Ken, CJ Mondo? How about him? What do you think of him as a talent? And what do you think about stepping in the ring with him? If you
Let's
haven't
see.
already.
This comes from a guy that couldn't beat Devin Keola and expects to step in the ring with a hardcore icon. So you got a better chance of facing one of these jabronis like Mark Banham or Ryan Storm before stepping in the ring with me, kid. So only thing I can
Damn.
tell Nick Kakan or Karen, more likely. Or should I say Nickelusian? You need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Famous Ice Cube quote, because when you step in the ring with me, it's going to get bloody massacred.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Well, you mentioned Mark Bennon. You just took a shot at the last ace, Mark Bennon. He asked Mark Bennon versus CJ Mondo on JTV 19 one day. JTV 19 is our league show. We have a league show. Everything else is like PvP style. That's PvP, but it's more league in the sense that with the other JTV shows, you have a storyline. You have a segment that's taking place. Somebody's getting jumped. A new faction is forming or something. In JTV 19, it's CJ Mondo put. You see CJ Mondo on camera. He's kind of promo. He's talking about Mark Bannon, and then later on, y'all have the match. That's JTV 19. What you just took a shot at this man, and he pretty much just challenged you. What do you make of this, CJ Mondo?
Well, let's just put it this way. I'm just one DM away. So anywhere, any place, Mark, you want to challenge me, if it's JTV, if it's Ray's show. Matter of fact, I'll throw in the ultimatum if Ray's listening. Nick, how about you and Mark take on me and my tag team partner of my choosing? We'll find out who that'll be on the next MPW episode after his Royal Elimination pay-per-view.
Oh man, the challenge has been laid right here live, folks. A challenge to Nick Ken and Mark Bannon.
If Nick has the balls and not put it in his wife's purse.
All Kevin Impact's got to say about that, Ray, book it. An instant robbery right there. We got ourselves a tag team match, money to be made, and a partner to reveal, whoever that may be. Let's keep it going.
Who knows? I could throw in some HKW calls. I can throw in some old calls that I faced that would love to team with me, or I could even make history happen in the making. Call someone from retirement to return.
Don't say that too loud around me. Let's see. We got some more stuff going on. Any more questions? I got to catch up a little bit because we had they kind of piled up on me while we were talking about the other stuff. So, a challenge has been made. It's up to Ray to accept it, book it for. I don't know if it's going to be MPW. I mean, the whole thing is QPW now that has form. I don't know if QPW is going to be the name of all shows or if that's what they have. But I guess there's a new merger that has happened. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I am a big fan of MPW, and I've gotten to finally know the OG and Kamaris, and and me and Devin Kiloa finally was able to figure out what was going on between us. So now we're on the right footing, and now we could just be brothers. You know what I mean? Like it should be. And then I have conversations with Chris Conscience about us being the X-Men. Ray calls us the Avengers over there when we're in MPW. So I like that notion, that mentality that it's not that we should fight each other. The mentality that we're brothers and sisters. You know, for the men and women in call here, that we should think that way. We should think that, you know, me and Ray and with Devin and OG are like the Professor Xavier, and everybody else, all of y'all that are working with us are kind of like just the X-Men, and we're all together just fighting. Listen, man, history taught us Wolverine didn't even get along like that with Cyclops. But if Cyclops was in trouble, you know he'll come out with them claws. Let's go, bub. It's on. You know what I mean? He's protecting him. He didn't like Gambit neither. And that's why Wolverine is my favorite X-Men, because he always had an attitude problem. You know what I mean? And I like attitudes. You know, I like controversy and I like to be edgy. It's just my style. So I enjoy that a lot. So um the merger to me is dope. I hope everything works out. Chris Conscience is working over there on some stuff. Me and him are also working together. Um, and we need to be able to keep this relationship that we have going on, because this is healthy for a call. For us to be able to have the opportunity for people to come visit JTV, like someone going to Japan, you know, and someone from JTV being able to go to QPW and compete in MPW or DVW, you know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing for people to be able to have that freedom, and to not have someone telling them you can't do this, you can't do that, and you can't sign with these people. In JTV, the way that I work, because I can't speak for Ray or anybody else, but I can tell you that Ray's the same way along with Devin and them, that we don't really do the manipulation and control thing. You can sign with whoever you want to sign with. From my perspective, as long as if you're working for me, respect our community and my promotion, and respect me, and I respect you. That's the way that I work. If you're going to respect me, I don't give a shit where you go. Why should I worry about that type of stuff? You know what I'm saying? Someone that doesn't want you to sign with certain companies and whatnot, that's a promoter. The reason why they do that, just so y'all know, the secret is because they're scared to lose you, number one, and because they might want to try to hold you back. Why would I want to try to hold anyone back? I don't want to hold nobody back. You know what I mean? If Mark wants to go over there where you guys is at and win your title and all this other stuff, why should I stop him? Why? Why would I do that? You know, like it just doesn't make sense to me. You should be in support of it. You should support your people and your friends. You know, this person is signing here. Support them. Embrace it. Be happy for them, not jealous. You know, so that's how I look at it. I don't know how long I'm going to be in the game. I might have 2, 3 years left in me in this car shit. So there's no reason for me to hold anybody back. I'm here to help
And here's
people
the thing
grow.
that I'm going to back Kevin Impact up here. And I've learned this through HKW. You better enjoy it while the product's out, because once it closes its doors, you'll wish that that company was reopened so you can go back and create more memories. But now, when them doors are shut, it's kind of hard to do that. So I'm going to have to back J Kid up on that.
And it's reasons like that, bro. It's reasons like that why it's so important to not fight over stupid shit, petty shit. Just keep the brotherhood going, keep the friendship going, and make history with it. If you get mad about something, listen, everyone at some point in time is going to get mad about something that happened in call. It happens. We are in the wrestling industry. So you have to understand you have egos that are butting heads. You have two entities that are colliding. This is a fight. We are supposed to be coming after each other and taking shots and running our mouths and all that type of stuff. Not the way certain people did to you. You know what I'm saying? CJ Mondo with what they said, but taking shots from a promo standpoint, not a personal standpoint, because you and your feelings, a storyline standpoint, a character standpoint. You know what I mean? You didn't. I done said I put my foot in CJ Mondo's ass earlier. He didn't say a goddamn thing. He didn't get offended or nothing like that. He understands what I mean. with the stuff he's been saying, well, we've been on the air talking for 2 hours so far. I understand what he means. We understand each other. We speak in the same language. Okay. We all need to speak the same language. We have to be one nation in CAW, just working towards the better part of it, you know? And we talked about this a lot on this channel. You know, we're just bringing this back up. CJ's on here talking about stuff we've been talked about, and we have to keep preaching that because this is like our church right now. In call, CAW is our religion, and y'all need to understand that. You need to put your ego to the side and understand that all promoters out there, it is not fucking about you. Slow the fuck down and respect your people and your roster more. Take care of your people, not just because they're on your roster, but because this is CAW and it's called appreciating it. We're not here for a long time. We've been here for a long time, some of us, but we're not going to be here forever. So enjoy your time. Don't waste energy on bullshit, you know? Just like I'm not going to be wasting energy with the same shit over and over and over. So switching guards, Quantum Pro Wrestling says, would we ever get CJ and Kevin Impact on commentary for QPW? I don't know about that one. What do you think about that one, CJ? You think you and me could get on there and just what a slobber knocker. That man's got a family. What do you think? Would you consider yourself someone that would be comfortable doing commentary for a match?
That is actually a good question. If we was actually on commentary for QPW, I guarantee you that show would be the top-notch show out of any show on YouTube far as the network is concerned, if that makes sense. Outside the network, these other companies wouldn't stand a chance.
It's something to consider, QPW. It's something for us to consider. But I'm definitely looking forward to coming back for commentary real soon. Looking forward to the next show. But the last show was outstanding. It was the go home show for MPW. Very emotional, good ratings, great episode. I loved a lot that happened. You know, Conscience put together a great match with you and King Dominator and Mark Bennett and them. And I just ate it up like Pac-Man. The whole show, just the tone, the aggressive tone, the edgy tone, like it's the type of wrestling I like to watch. If I'm not watching my JTV, I'm watching y'all show because it's the only good show that I see that's out there that I could watch. Now, respectfully, there are other shows out there that are good. Shows that are not as big as us. And when I say us, I mean all of us. You know, they're not as popular. You know, they might get 2, 3 views, 10 views, 12 views when they deserve more, like we deserve more. But they're still good simulated companies, good shows. And I'm always happy to meet all the owners. I try to talk to all the owners of leagues and EFEDS and everything. And it's a shaking hand type of stuff, showing respect. And just like how it should be, you know, not me going and saying, hey, I'm the best promoter in call. I don't think that. I think that I do good work in call. I think I've made an impact, if you will, you know, in a lot of people's lives. And I take a lot of pride in that. That's why I got into call. I didn't get into call to have issues with nobody. But moving on from me, you know, MPW, you guys have been on fire. And I've been loving the shows. Everything has been great. It's always going to be stuff going on backstage. The stuff that has gone on with OG and Devin and Ray. I just want to put this out there because you're one of their guys, CJ. And I seen Ryan Storm was in the comments. You know, your boys are stopping by, you know, saying hello in the comments. And I just want to say, this is my message to y'all over there. They fight and they get along. Keep that in mind. And number 2, there is no CAW promotion out there that is not going to have some form of drama. It is going to happen. Because it happened once or twice doesn't mean you take it, smear it, and go, oh, it's toxic. This place is falling apart. No, that's not entirely how that works. You know what I mean? drama and toxicity and all that is a constant. When it's constantly happening, that's when you have an argumentative point. But these guys make their peace and get along, and to all the talent involved, I just invite you guys to continue to be a part of it because they are a great organization with QPW, and I'm happy to be a part of it and some of my friends and some of my talent. So I'm very proud and I'm very happy. It excites me. I'm looking forward to whatever we're doing next. I tell Ray and all of them, I don't care what you're doing, I'm down. Whatever you're doing, I'm there. The stuff that OG and Devin and Kamaris and even Malcolm Berry, who went off on that last show, it was just crazy. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this because this is about you, CJ Mondo. But I'm just complimenting your home back there that they've done an outstanding job, and that's the reason why that's my favorite CAW show, along with mine. So let me see if I can get anything else. Scroll down. We got the JTV World Heavyweight Champion Shendon is watching, tuning in. We got a question here from Big John Bundy. What's your favorite match that you had in EFED, CJ?
Well, that would be a hard one because there was a lot of favorites of matches of me being in, and one of those would probably be that HKW match with El Diablo for the Chaos title. That was one of the most memorable matches of my entire EFED career. El Diablo made me not only a star in the making, but he also made me into the future of what we know as call wrestling. And it's truly an honor to say that was probably the best match, but if I'm going to have to go with QPWs, it's going to have to be that tag match that was the go home show.
All right. Well, there you go. Hopefully he caught that. If not, he could catch it on the replay. If y'all have any more questions, keep tossing them at us. You know, we're working into the last hour here. We got less than an hour left to close the show out. So you want to get your questions in right now. Everything you have. We want to thank Ryan Storm for stopping by, and some of your folks over there, and Devin and whatnot stopping by. You got people showing you love, man. They're here showing you support. You know, I've been trying to have conversation with Conscience and Ray and Devin and them, and pointing out how we have a really healthy, positive environment now. Because for many, many years, JTV was manipulated and I was manipulated, by people I thought were my friends and people that I thought were trying to do what's right for Call. And now I feel happy because I don't feel that anymore. That negative energy, that feeling of, oh, I got to reach out to this person because they're booked, even though we don't get along. You know what I mean? And then eventually that I'm gonna part ways with them because if I don't get along with them, why keep them around? You know? So I don't have that feeling anymore. I like what I do. You know what I'm saying? A friend of mine, Chris Conscience, came to work with y'all, came to do commentary, and he's happy. He loves what he does, and I'm quoting him is what I'm doing. I'm the same way. I like what I do with y'all because I get the opportunity to meet all this talent and to share my passion and just to hype you and just to celebrate you. All you guys, all of us deserve to be celebrated. You know what I mean? And that's what we should be doing, in my opinion. I think we should be spoiling each other. We should be celebrating each other, hyping each other, making each other feel good in that sense. That's what I like to do. That's what I'm into. I'm not into the toxic scene and all this stuff, like the lies that have been said about me. There isn't anything to prove that I've been toxic. Anything I've ever done that would be considered negative is me speaking my mind and people didn't like it. Too fucking bad. The truth is the truth. If you did
That's the
something,
problem
go ahead.
with the community because they don't want to get to know the person, but they sure love to make somebody look bad when they not. That's the whole problem with the community.
People try to come after me because, and I'm not going to go along with this, but people try to come after me. One is jealousy, but jealousy in the sense that I really have a creative mind, and I really have a talent for this industry. Whether a character on the mic, some people think I'm good on the mic. I think I'm a good shooter on the mic. I think I'm a good talker. I don't know if I'm good at promos, but character wise and working with people and managing a CW promotion, it seems like I'm good at that. I think I'm good at that. And from the reaction of some people, they give me the impression that I'm good at that. So with that comes jealousy. You know what I mean? And I have such a creative mind to create things that nobody else is doing. Same with Ray Nakai. Ray's another one that he had. This motherfucker has a mind. Just boom, create magic. Chris Conscience is another one of those guys. Minds in wrestling that should be respected. When I introduced Chris Conscience to Ray Nakai the first time, that to me was important. It was important to Carl because it's like, how dare Carl have the audacity not to introduce the Chris Conscience and the Ray Nakai to each other? These guys are legends of this industry. You know what I mean? This shit is important. And when they got to me, these two minds came together, and I call Ray the Edward Nigma of CAW. You know what I mean? Because Conscience is the conscious mind. I knew that since 2014, but even people that work with him didn't understand that about him, who his character was, what it was about. I never worked with him, and I knew his character. You know what I'm saying? So for people to not find what to do with Chris Conscience blows my mind because it's an easy write on paper. With Ray, it's just an easy fix. Ray has a creative mind. And a lot of you guys are creative over there that are working with them. Same in JTV. I have creative people in JTV. Shendon is a creative guy that works with me, my world champion. You know what I mean? Props to him and his bitch ass. So we have a lot of really great things going on. And I feel like we just need to keep it going, man. We just got to keep it going because we're making history. And this is a great era right now in call, by the way. This is my favorite era in call right now. This is my favorite one. This is the best era that has ever been in call. There's been a lot of people that have paved the way for call. Shout out to, may he rest in peace, Eddie Mack. Eddie Mack is in the JTV Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? Eddie Mack goes back with a lot of y'all. He had a lot of love and passion for call. May he rest in peace. I didn't know him personally, but we have exchanged conversations at time, and I give him a lot of love and respect. There's a guy I'm thinking about. I can't remember his name that passed away, young kid. A lot of people paved the way. FAM, which was around way before JTV, and just call all stars and everything. Shout out to Ray Geddes. Respectfully, Ray Geddes won't go on the air too often and say that JTV was really where he kind of started and did his thing. You know what I'm saying? He'll probably tell you some other show, but JTV is what paved the way for Ray Geddes, along with his passion and his buddies back before he started. He won't talk about that a lot, but it's just what the facts are. You know what I mean? Same with someone else who compete. I'm not going to mention him. It's been a lot of people who paid the way for us, in the past. But right now, in my opinion, this is the greatest era in call. The stuff that we're doing right now is on fire. And like I said, I didn't know I was ever going to get to meet you. I knew about you, but I'm like, CJ Mondo, me and him are never going to talk. I said the same thing about Conscience. You know him, but we're never going to get to talk. We'll never work together or anything. It won't happen. OG Kiwizi was another one. I'm like, I know him, but we'll never get to work together. We'll never talk. So anytime I get this opportunity, it's always like, oh, you know what I mean? There's people still out there that I know about that I never had the opportunity to get to know, to get to talk to them. And I think that might be my mission. I don't know. It might be my mission because on this show, we continue bringing guests on here. It's going to make it interesting. This platform open worldwide to anyone. It's not recorded. It's live. I can't stop CJ Mondo from saying some shit on the air. You know what I mean? And if he did, I'm not going to kick him out unless it's something I really have to stop him about that's offensive to certain people. Besides that, he can say whatever the fuck he want, even about me. It's welcome in this place. But I do apologize if I don't get to every single comment, every single question. You guys have stacked the deck against me right here, but I'm trying to get to everyone that I can. Um, we are taking questions. I have some. I have okay, we did these already. Oh, these we did already. What else do we have? All right, Ryan Storm is saying, anytime Kevin and you have done well with this since I met you, it's been great, brother. CJ, he is one of those people who made a star, so I appreciate CJ so much. I've only talked to Ryan Storm probably a few times in some of Ray's chats. Don't know him well, but I wish him well. I try to wish everyone in MPW well. A while back, I was speaking out on some of the slack that was going on in the community, and a few people started leaving them chats, which I don't respect that. It goes back to what CJ Mondo said at the beginning of the show, that just someone just walking off. You can hate me if you want, and just disagree with me. And people have in the past. Not everybody always agrees with everything I say on the show, and I think that's a beautiful thing because that's what makes the world, unique. But the way Kevin Impact sees it is like this: every single person that was in that chat that left Ray because I called them out on being lazy and I called them out on not doing enough and stepping up and supporting Ray and helping him put the show together. Fuck them. That ain't JTV. That ain't MPW. That ain't Ray. That ain't Devin. That ain't you saying it. That's me. Fuck them. I said it 2 times for the record because they didn't give a shit about Ray. Because if they gave a shit about Ray in the community, they wouldn't leave. They wouldn't put him in a situation where he had to get rid of me because they didn't like that I was calling out the slack. If you're not the lazy one, why is my comment affecting you? See what I did there? Someone lied about me. The only reason I'm going to get mad is that they're lying. But if it's not true, I don't really give a shit. Plenty of people have lied about me. I don't give a shit about it. It's not true. And a lot of people know it's not true or figure out it's not true because in time they see the truth or they find out. Or they either don't have no evidence from them or they'll get evidence from me. So
Preach the gospel there.
you know what I'm saying? I'm cool with whatever. You know what I mean? If you're going to lie about me, at least involve me. Just like CJ Mondo said, if you're going to take shots at him, involve him. Say it to him like a man. Don't go behind his back. You know what I mean? So that's how I feel about that. I appreciate the support, Ryan. And what else we got? And any more questions from y'all? Y'all got CJ Mondo here, man. You can ask him whatever you want. What else we got? How have you been enjoying your year so far in MPW, CJ? What do you think about the creative that they've had for you? Do you think that they're pleasing you, or do you think that you need more, or do you have a creative concept that you think needs to be explored in MPW?
Well, I like where Ray's doing right now. Like, I'm not really, I guess you could say, picky on those parts.
Right.
But I will say this in general, that I'm not the type of guy that is going to be like mad about what happens. I mean, you got to understand first, wrestling show's a wrestling show. Of course, you're going to have some things planned, some things is going to throw you off guard. You just got to be prepared for both. And like I said, like, you, Ray, and Devin Killa knows the business, knows how to get stuff done in general time. So all of them, like I said, all the haters, they can keep on hating because at the end of the day, it just shows who is real and who is fake.
Right. I agree. Everything always comes to the light. You know what I mean? So that's just what it is. That's why I said don't worry about whoever's lying on your name, whatever. Don't worry about it. It's not true. You just focus on what you have to focus on. And that's it. Just have your fun, do your time in CAW, and then when you get out, you have great memories to reflect on. It's unfortunate. And I'm not going to go back into it because we spent a lot of time talking about that topic. So, but yeah, definitely for sure. Yeah, man, I'm with you once again. I think that the product has been picking up. It's been great. The product now is what I wanted it to be back a few years back. Um, for a few years, respectfully, I say this with respect, just in case we weren't aware of it. But when JTV and MPW had an issue years ago, it was on Ray's end. And I'm not here to bash Ray. I'm here to just make it well understood because I got in the crossfire because of that, and people started thinking that I was some conniving, manipulative piece of shit when all I was doing was protecting JTV. Ray wanted to run along with some people who had problems with us, which makes it personal because if you have personal problems with someone outside a call and your online buddies are buddies with them, friends with them, it kind of brings them into the mix, if that makes sense. So it wouldn't be wrong of you to feel a certain way about them. And I mean, Ray was lied to, Ray was manipulated by some people, and it took him. He made that decision because he thought there was an opportunity there. Ray wasn't happy with what I was giving him, thought that I was holding him back and stuff like that. I don't want to put words in his mouth. He can say whatever he wanted in the comments to correct me. But that decision was made, and at the time before that happened, there were people in MPW trying to run the show, so to speak. They were trying to call creative. They were trying to call finishes. They were trying to call who's going to be champion and try to put Ray in a difficult situation about who should have the title, who should do this, who should do that. And I hated it. And I yelled at some of these people sometime years ago, if Ray never mentioned that, to defend him. JTV's been there for Ray for many, many years, since 2016 when I met him and him starting his promotion and whatnot. I didn't know Nick Kai Ken back then, but I knew Ray. I got to meet Devin before I found out about their relationship, because we still got time to talk about Devin and them. So I want to talk about them a little bit. And despite the fact that Ray made poor decisions, we still find a way to make peace and get along. And I loved him like a brother back in since 2016. And then it just kind of changed a bit because, when some of the stuff that he did that just made it personal, in a way. But Ray never really said anything really bad about me. He just lied. And he never really, I don't know, it was never really like an aggressive thing. It was, but I don't know, maybe it's just me. I didn't take him like as a threat. You know what I mean? So we found a way to get along. Uh, the product that's going on now in MPW is what I've been wanting since way back then. To pick up, to be edgy, to be compelling, to
Here's
have
the
character.
problem that Ray had, and I'll try to speak for Ray that I know that was going on.
Oh, please get that back.
Here's the thing: there was people that done the same thing to me that done it to Ray. They was trying to tell me to leave this certain company, and we could treat you better. We'll make you a star. But when it comes down to actually backing that up, their actions didn't prove what their words say.
Right.
So in other words, it was more like a talk and not do sort of thing.
Right. Well, I mean, from my experience, and I hear what you're saying, but from my experience with Ray, it was really more about an opportunity to, I guess, do more. Because when he was working with me, it was just like, I think he felt that he wanted more and I wasn't giving it to him. So he kind of just stabbed me in the back because of that, and because they promised him a whole bunch of false things. And he kind of just went along with that, which is a mistake. It's a mistake that he made several times, and he's been forgiven for it. I mean, obviously, if it happened again, then it's just the block button and I'm moving on. But we're good. I don't have a problem with him, even though we did have an issue not too long ago that I've dusted under the carpet again, But the product has picked up. It's great. It's excellent. It's I feel like you guys are killing it, in my opinion. I like everything that's going on. Conscience being involved with the project, um, and everybody else is just like, this is what MPW needs for people to step up and to tell Ray what they think creatively, not to tell Ray, hey, I don't like this, change it, do that. That's not how this shit works, neither. Okay. It's a 50-50 thing. Ray has to consider and try to bless the wishes of of one talent, and one talent needs to be kind and respectful and considerate of Ray's position to put out product and shows, and also to build you creatively into a star, into a mega star. So it's a 50-50 thing. Both sides have to work together. It's not one over the other. There's a lot of companies that think otherwise. You know, they like to take that 100% or maybe 98 and give you 2%. So I understand that, even though I disagree with it. But it is what it is. The product has been on fire. I also like everything that's going on. But let's talk about some of the boys. Before we talk about some of the other boys, what is your relationship with Rain and Kai, and what do you think of the guy?
To be honest, when we first met, we let people involved with the friendship, and I think that was the worst case scenario because Ray tried to help me tremendously, and my part, I let people try to tell me just like Ray, oh, if you get out of Ray's company, you would, prosper, you would, all this. But when it came down to it, like I said, they didn't back their words up. And to me, Ray as a person, he's been always a good guy. There's nothing bad about him.
Yeah, I agree.
He knows his stuff. Like that's pretty much why people hates him. People hates the product because his product's always been better than theirs. And
I agree with that too. Yep.
And to me, that shows their character automatically because they're not living up to the word when they said let the past be the past, but they still want to lurk and make fake accounts and come here and be a child.
And it's also weakness, because if you can't do it like Ray or anybody else is doing it on top, then maybe you shouldn't do it. If you can't do it, then don't do it. Don't force being Eric Bischoff or Vince McMahon if you can't do the shit. Ray's good at doing what he's doing with y'all. You know what I mean? He's smart like that to do that with y'all. He has the creative mind for it and the right people around him. And that's it. It's not about jealousy, Ray has beaten himself up over the same things. I'm not gonna come on here and lie neither and be a hypocrite. But the thing about it is that even though that's the case, sometimes Ray forgets that he has such a creative mind and that he's so talented and gifted. He forgets about that and fights himself sometimes to where this is not good enough. That's not good enough. I've been saying this and I'm going to say it again. Most of what Ray does is more than good enough. It's overqualified because he puts together a lot of creative stuff. Ray's issues just come sometimes creatively and sometimes from.
In all honesty, the way I look at it is Ray's basically like HKW because that's how HKW ran their show. That's the reason why I was huge with HKW because they would do I think they use mods or something behind their game system to make the show product stand out because in the chat, we had at least 20, 30 people watching in HKW with Brian Mead. And Brian would literally set up like the business would be. If you're not a big name, you didn't go for a title match. You didn't go for, the glory is what I like to call it. You literally had to work for it. You literally had
to be the face of the company, to have the brass ring, be on top, be a star. I got you.
And like I said, that's the reason why that I love Ray's show because Ray knows his stuff. He knows how to build you up from a rookie to a top main eventer. And that's what it should be about and not just, like you said before, kissing somebody's ass, sucking somebody's dick for it.
Yeah. Or just putting your friends on top. You know what I
Sorry,
mean?
guys, this ain't a PG show, and you got the wrong person on the show if it is.
Shit. Works for me. But I agree with everything you said. Yeah, I agree. You know, he's been doing a good job with y'all with the shows. The shows have been picking up. They've been hot. Ray's been crafting, and crafting is how you become the best. Again, not by sucking dick or kissing somebody's ass or being somebody's best buddy. Um, like AJ Lee once said to a few bimbos, talent is not sexually inherent. That's a fact. You know what I mean? If you don't have the talent, get the fuck out of call. If you have the mind and the talent, then you have to work hard to get to the top. You
To
don't
be
get
honest, about that, like I feel like if all the negative people left Colin would be a better place.
yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. You know, it may be so. It may be so because Carl also, just like most people, like drama. People love drama. You know what I mean? So if it was God's purpose to have drama in call, there's a reason for that. God knows that it needs it. But am I in agreement with you? I think if there was less of them, it would be better. I can't say if there was any. I don't know if Carl would be healthy and safe if there was no drama because this is wrestling. But if there was less pedos and you know the weird stuff going on and haters and stuff like that, then yeah, I think we would all see a lot more success. You know what I mean? Um, I don't have you guys coming on here telling you you can't mention MPW and QPW. You can't talk about this. You can't say that. It's just open. It's an open house. We need to have
Well, it's
that.
like I tell my guys, that's on my show. It's freedom of speech. You express how you want to feel, as long as it don't go over edge of the border.
It should be that
That's
way. Yeah, it should be.
and it gets to the point that you have a lot. Some. I'm not saying all, but some EFEDers that own a company, they want to mute the silence, mute the truth. They don't want the truth to be exposed because the truth's going to hurt them more than it's going to hurt you.
Right. 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 Yeah, and us being here on call doing what we're doing, we're public figures, you know, because we're on the internet and everything. So
I mean,
yeah,
I know this person's not been in call, but he's a political figure. Charlie Kirk, good example of that.
right.
Told the truth. People didn't like it. What'd they do? Found a way to silence him.
Yep. They had to just silence them. Abraham Lincoln, JFK, Martin Luther King Jr. You know, the list goes on and on. And you know, they had the opportunity to do the same to me. Any one of us. You know, you have to speak up. You have to be brave enough to speak up and kick doors down because it's just how the culture works. You know what I mean? When they want their dirt to keep secret, they'll take you out if they have to. That's just how it is. And remember that because those are cryptic words that I'm telling you guys. Keep that in mind. Um, so I want to talk to you about Devin Kiloa and some of the guys that you're involved with in the promotion. What's your relationship with Devin Kiloa, and what do you think about him as a talent?
I mean, Devin is like probably one of the best people that I know besides Ray. He's won more championships than I probably have fingers and toes on my body to probably count because I know every EFED he's been in, he's done the right thing. He's worked his way up. He knows how to stay in call. He knows the fundamentals of what we know as being in the business, even though I'm not a big name in the business, in the real business, not call business, but in the real business. He knows that it's all about brotherhood and respect, and it goes both ways. If you don't give respect, respect's not going to give back to you. That's how the coin tosses, in other words.
Absolutely. I
So,
agree with that.
so in Devin Keola, he's probably one of the greatest to ever lace up a pair of boots because he's actually done this, and he knows his craft. That's the main thing. If you know your craft, you can get far along, not only in call, but also in the business.
Devin is one of those guys that I was one of the ones. I didn't hate on Devin Kiloa like some people, but I definitely overlooked him because I got to know him through Colin Klein. He had came to JTV some years ago. He had one match, and he wanted to come in as Devin Moxley. I didn't want Devin Moxley because I thought it was just ripping too much from John Moxley. So I told him to change his name to Devin Maddox or something like that. You know, which he's ripped me on that for the longest time now, which made me laugh because at the time I thought he didn't give a shit about it. I thought he was just a rando. You get a lot of randos in college, you know that. You know, guys who'll be there for a couple weeks and then they go, I quit. You know, like that other dude, Jackson Draven. You know, that dude is weird. You know, just he'll be in a promotion for a bit and then he just quit out of nowhere. He quit JTV because he wanted to change a character a year after he debuted, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? I would have been open to name change and change of a characteristic, but this isn't Tekken or Street Fighter, guys. You can't be humanly John Cena can't be John Cena one day and then the next day he's the Undertaker. It's not select a fighter. You know, this is like my career. If you come in as CJ Mondo into JTV, you are CJ Mondo forever. You might change your look, you might change your name, but your character should look the same. You know what I
Yep.
mean? I've even allowed people to change tattoos. You know what I mean? Out of just freedom. You know, and with tattoos and call changing is argumentative because it's like you can't be changing tattoos. But I mean, you could change tattoos because in real life you could get tattoo laser removed. So I thought about them like, okay, so that's kind of realistic. So I should be able to let people change their tattoos if they want to, you know, and it's freedom. So that's that. I'm not telling you to go get a tattoo on your chest of a ball sack and a penis, you know, but I'm just saying that we allow tattoo freedom. Um, so Devin Kilo is just one of those guys. He had a good match with Colin Klein for the TV taping. I thought he did good. Creatively, we just wasn't able to figure it out after that. He wasn't getting what he wanted. I wasn't getting what I wanted. We parted ways. Then years later, I found out him and Ray are buddies, which I didn't know. And then that's his right hand man and everything, you know. So what I didn't know about Devin could talk. He's good at promos. Um, and he's grown a lot as a PvP wrestler. And I've said a few times on and off air that Devin is someone that a lot of people might think, oh, you know, he's like an AI type of guy. Yeah, maybe he could cut promos, maybe his character's pretty good and stuff like that. But he's just an AI guy, no big deal. No, Devin's the whole package. He can do PvP also. He can do both, PvP or AI. He could do both. You know, so I give the guy a lot of credit. He tried to show me a lot of respect. There were forces that was trying to prevent him and me from really becoming close. I don't know because there was thoughts of me and him becoming friends or whatnot, but I never had no problem with Devin Kiloa. Um, Besides the fact that when we parted ways, I just thought he was a random and I didn't respect him. And I mean, after when we started working together again last year till now, that I thought he had something on me or against him because he had heard rumors that I was a piece of shit and all this other stuff that nobody's been able to prove, but they talk about, you know, and we was able to hit it off. So I got a lot of respect for the guy, not to make it so much about him because we're going on the last 12 minutes and we're here to talk to you, but he's fantastic. Ryan Storm is in the comments. Ryan Storm name has been thrown around a few times around me. I'm trying to get to know the guy a little bit. You know, maybe he can even come on here sometime and talk about his career. But what do you make about Ryan Storm as a talent? And what do you make of him in general?
I mean, Ryan Storm has climbed the rankings of my old company that I recently had was NWF.
Okay.
He was a former NWF World Champion, former tag team. I mean, he's pretty much he's a workhorse. Like Ryan's pretty much knows what he's doing, and he can pretty much stand his ground with some greats. I'm not saying he's the best, but I'm saying he can stand his ground with some greats. Like I said, he's very good at helping. I know he's done a couple GM jobs. He's made NWF look good. He's brought in stars that I didn't even think myself I would get, but Ryan literally brought in some huge opportunities when I had NWF open. Now I'm running TNA, which is Titan Nation Alliance.
All right.
So Ryan's pretty much, like I said, a good workhorse, good friend. We've known each other for possibly 4 to 5 years. I mean, we pretty much know each other pretty much like reading a book.
Right.
From start to finish.
I think I got an opportunity if it is the right Ryan Storm. I got an opportunity to meet him at the MPW taping that went on for the show that premiered, and we were watching, and I could remember I got hit up. Ray hit up one of the chats. I think it was the JTV chat or something, and he posted the link. And a lot of us had forgotten that MPW was coming on. And I said, shit. And I said, because he was going on early because I guess NXT had a pay-per-view coming on the weekend. And so, because I don't like shows when they come out early. Like I like when call shows come out and it's dark outside, if that makes sense. It's just my style since way back in the day. Same with wrestling. I like when wrestling is loud. During entrances, once upon a time, entrances used to be important in wrestling. And we try to retain that in JTV. And you see that in MPW and the shows you guys do, that the entrance matters. The entrance is important to a wrestler. Make no mistake about it. Now they don't give a shit. They'll give them a generic background that it just says their name. No entrance video. That shit was important in wrestling. It used to be. And got the opportunity to know the guy, talk to him a little bit. Very passionate guy. Looking forward to seeing what else he has to offer, Ryan Storm. But you definitely spoke volumes of the guy. What about Chris Conscience, man? Had you had the opportunity to meet the Conscience Third Eye of CAW?
No, I have not, but I got to do commentary with him. I know he's a good commentator. So, but working with the guy, I never had my match with him. So right now I could not tell you.
Well, let me tell you this. Conscience to me is like the Jim Ross of what we do of call. If you're trying to get over on TV, you got to talk to Chris Conscience. You have to have a relationship with Chris Conscience because he can go to Ray and tell him, I got this idea. We should do this. And we can find ways to use you better. Same with me. Now that you've appeared here on my City of Impact, you and I have a thing now. And we've been talking because I've been enjoying talking to you in the inbox for a while now since we started talking. You make me laugh and we have great conversations. But now that we've gone public with our interaction, now I have thoughts of you. Now I've come to understand you. Now I'm going to get hyped when I see, oh shit, it's CJ Mondo. You know what I mean? And you come out. I got hyped when you came out on the last MPW show and you got in that 6-person tag, So this is all positive progress we're making. And I'm definitely going to be interested in you stepping up in MPW and QPW, proving yourself. But this is Kevin Impact to CJ Mondo. It's all about that world championship, man. You know what I mean? It's all about being the face of the company. I think CJ Mondo has a mean streak. I think you have more to you that we have yet to explore and call, and I want to see it. Whether it's JTV, whether it's in QPW, I want to see it. I want to see CJ Mondo be world champion. I want to see CJ Mondo. Don't you let Devin Kiloa and OG Key Weezy and all these other jabronis, Malcolm Berry, whomever, and anybody else running their mouth over there. Don't you let them put you in second place. You're the man. You're the guy. You're the face of the company. You got to put that in your mind, and that's my message to King Dominator, who I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But heard him thrown around a few times, known him for a few years, known of him for a few years. That's my message to everybody in call, man. It's about being the guy. Shendon came to me, if you know him, he's my world champion, the leader of BKS. You know, came to me and said, I don't want to be a top guy in JTV. I want to be the guy in JTV, the greatest of all time. And he's busted his ass to do it. A lot of people don't like him over it, you know, because that motherfucker is good at PvP and he's able to come out on top and he's able to win. You know what I mean? And I never hated him for that. You know, my displeasure from him came from creative differences and just any fear of trying to put somebody over. Besides that, I don't hate him for that. You know, he's a great talent. He has an ability, just like you have an ability to be CJ Mondo. So don't stop growing. Continue to mean street, bring it to a higher pedestal. You know, and wrestling right now, there's a lot of entitlement, whether it's call or professional wrestling. There's a lot of gifting and entitlement, like we talked about earlier. Someone will not have the talent, and they will still put them on top because they're buddies, or they do sexual favors, or they just kiss ass. And I don't agree with that. As far as my promotion, it ain't about kissing my nuts. In my promotion, you got to have that talent. You got to be good. You can't be no fucking Seth Rollins, none of that bullshit. And JTV, you got to be real talented. You want to be on TV? You want to be the main guy or girl? You got to show me that fucking passion. You got to prove yourself. And that's why everyone that's on top in JTV are on top because they worked for it, not because I put them there. Corey Flash is someone that got a lot of heat for a lot of years, but this fucking dude has paved the way and has done his part for JTV. I'll leave it there so I don't rant too much because this is your show. We got a few minutes left. So if y'all got any questions, please ask. We got CJ Mondo here with us. Smash the like button. Yo, CJ, man, what about your company, man? Plug that. What's your channel?
Gaming with CJ. It's on YouTube that I do my TNA shows. We actually going to episode 9. Ryan unfortunately has to defend his world title against Devin Kiola. So that's the main event for TNA for episode 9. So it's going to be intense because both guys want to be champion, but only one's going to come out. And yes, it is a first blood match.
Hey, send me the link. I'll be there. So, do you wrestle on it or do you just operate it as the admin?
I do both. I'm the TV champion on my show as well.
Thumbs up. Perfect. Perfect. I like when certain promoters wrestle on their show because it looks good and they can benefit from it, but they can help as well. Ray Nakai.
Well, I don't try to go after the world title because me as a promoter, if I go after my own world title, then what's the point of having talent? You know, that's why I let my talent go after the world title and I'll just, help build them up. You know, that's what it should be about. It shouldn't be about, you're being the controlling owner that goes after the world title, that you're power hungry. It should be about, you helping your talent, you helping your guys make a name for themselves so they can, one day maybe even tribute you or give you respect back in some ways.
You just opened a door to the same thing I was about to say with Ray Nakai, that Ray got a bad rep because he was champion of some kind in MPW and some people didn't like it. And it's like I said, and like I'm saying again, Ray is talented everywhere, in the ring, on the mic, and creatively. And him as a champion, he don't got to be MPW world champion for a year. You know, he don't have to do that. But him having the MPW championship brings legitimacy, not to the promotion, but also to the championship and anyone who gains the championship because he's been in call for a long time. You know what I'm saying? It's if I was to give you an example of what I'm talking about, it's like Eric Bischoff winning the WWE championship right now. It's not very great because he's not a wrestler, but he's still a legend. A legend won the world championship. It brings some form of legitimacy to it, you know? So going back to you, CJ Mondo, from what I've seen from you, your tone, your mindset on the business, your understanding of the business, the psychology that you bring. I mean, you mentioned Shane Douglas and Tommy Rich, man. You know what I mean? Like these are guys that I wrestled in the ECW JTV era on PlayStation 1. Tracy Smother and all those guys that were in ECW that were like pre ECW, NWA, AWA, you know, before it was Extreme Championship Wrestling, when it was Eastern Championship Wrestling, building coming from territories to build more territories. So I give you a shit ton of respect, dude. You know, and it's good to see you promoting the art that we built since the Attitude Era, and it makes us feel good to have met you and talk with you, and that we had this
Well, the
conversation.
way I look at it, Kevin, if it wasn't for the Smoky Mountain guys and all those territory guys, we wouldn't have the call community what we have today. So I try to, pay respect to respect's due. If, like I said, if it wasn't for Tommy Rich, Shane Douglas, we wouldn't be doing the video game call community. They paved the way for video game era to kick in. And, even though I'm training and not really having much matches and still learning about the business, it's one of those things that you definitely have to take under consideration that, you know, sometimes, yeah, Tommy can really lay it in on you, but at the same time, he's trying to better you. And that's what I understand about it. He's not trying to be mean or, trying to be this, a-hole like people cause him. He's just trying to better you. And that's one thing I love about Tommy Rich and also Richie. They both better their talent. That's one shout out I'm going to give to both here on the podcast.
Speaking of shout outs, Constance gave you a shout out too for shouting him out. Um, we're getting ready to close the show out. If anybody has any question, the time to ask is right now before we close the show out. We have spent over 3 hours talking to the great CJ Mondo. This has been amazing. It's been a great experience. And it's been that shooter style podcast pro wrestling that you want. Balls out, edgy, no apology, no hiding nothing. No, you can't say this, you can't talk about that. You know, we didn't mention certain people because we're grown men. That's why we didn't mention certain people, but we did mention certain people that deserve to be mentioned, good and bad. So, but it's been fantastic. This is what I love. A lot of passion for this, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. It doesn't seem like we have any more questions. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and thank my guest and welcome him back in the future. Anytime,
Like I said,
anytime.
it's been a pleasure here, and thank you guys for showing support in the chat, and also showing support to Kevin Impact and his JTV shows. So keep on doing what you guys doing, keep showing the love, and hopefully we could do something in the future to make this call community even more greater.
Sure, absolutely. I appreciate the love and I appreciate the respect. You got your promotion going on. If you want to work with any of my people, that's cool with me. Put that out there. If you ever become serious about doing the JTV thing, inbox is open. You know what I mean? But in the meantime, I'm happy to just support you as a friend and to have a relationship with you and to support you as a talent on Ray's show, uh, in the QPW community, and just to see what else we could dish out as we get ready to wrap up our car careers. Pretty much as we get older, different stuff's going on. So it's an exciting time. It's interesting, and it's been a pleasure, brother. It's been a pleasure to talk to you directly like this, even if we're on the air. To get that opportunity to meet you, the CJ Mondo, right from Kevin Impact. So thank you for being a guest on the city, and we hope to have you again real soon, bud.
Thank you so much.
All right. With that being said, as me and my guests get ready to leave the building, we want to thank y'all so much. Put this comment out real quick. The JTV World Champion says, "Good to know about CJ. Good podcast. This was great experience. We want to thank all of y'all for tuning in. Make sure you smash the like button. Please leave some comments. I love to hear what you have to say. And Let me know if you want to see CJ Mondo come back. We'll have him back sometime. With that being said, we're going to close the show out. Thank y'all for watching. Good fight. Good night.